Hello and welcome to Season 4, Episode 9 of Les Oderants. I'm Dan and I am joined this week as usual by Ben and James. Ben and James, say hello.
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 Hello. Wow, is that the actual perfume?
It is.
Or is that just a... what, you bought a bottle?
I bought 100 ml of this and I kept the box so that I could show you the unboxing experience. And
Wow.
Wow. This so noting that podcasting is not a visual medium. Ben is
Everyone
holding.
could tell by the hello.
Yeah, exactly. It's Lionel Richie. What is it? What is it called? Lionel Richie.
It's Hello by Lionel Richie, and I believe I'll be going on about this all night long. And,
Have you got any
Let's
more?
see
of
how many
those
Lionel
puns?
Richie songs we can get into, sneak into the.
I only know those
and he
two.
literally is a box with him on the front cover, just giving it we'll get to it later, but yeah. For now, hello.
Really? I feel like I want to get to it now.
Well, we could just go straight because this is what I've been wearing all week.
Oh, really?
All week. Wow.
Okay, just tell me how much did Hello by Lionel Richie actually cost you, and where did it come from?
It cost me £19.99
Okay.
for 100 mils from a shop called Savers.
Savers?
Which mainly mostly like toiletries. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they've got a little frag section, and I got this one. They do have a perfume. But I bought the perfume because
does the perfume have it's a blind
exactly
woman in the video?
The same cover. No, it's exactly the same cover.
Oh,
It should be him, but made out of clay.
and it's just the most perplexing celebrity perfume I've ever seen. This was released in 2019.
It's strange. What, during the pandemic? I didn't get the memo about the release. I
thought Lionel Richie stopped sort of making things in like the 80s.
What songs?
Early 90s,
music
maybe?
and stuff?
I think he's still
Like
touring around on the
touring.
nostalgia circuit, isn't he?
He's still got a pretty good
nice,
voice,
though,
to be honest. He still sounds all right. I've not been seeing-
you look like you were going to burst into song there, James. You were just thinking about it.
No, but he's he's one of those, like, he's consistently worked. I think he is one that is. If you're into him, do you know what I mean?
He looks good for his age, doesn't he?
Yeah, he looks great.
Well, he looks
On that
he
front
looks
cover,
good on
he's-
that front cover of that box, but
He looks like that anyway. To be honest, I don't think there's any Photoshop. I think they had to, Photoshop in a few wrinkles to be like, come on, dude. Like,
Make it
Yeah,
seem more
exactly.
believable.
Yeah,
no one looks that good.
So-
That's fucking AI. and shit.
right. Just put me out of my misery. Tell me, is Hello any good?
Well, so this is the
Oh,
bottle.
you're
It's
really
actually quite
fucking
nice.
hamming this shit up now.
It's not a terrible bottle. Oh, I am, because when I got it, right, this is the first thing I noticed, right? Obviously, not a terrible bottle, right? But it's not bad, right? Big cap, plastic as all hell. This bit, it just wobbles around
Nice.
freely. It's
a wobbly collar.
always know you're going to get a good frag when the collar is just
there's
plastic
two ways
and rattling around.
Two ways to look at it. You can sort of like
How much did you pay for it, though?
£19.99, 20 English pounds.
20. Did you collect your penny change? There are two ways of looking at the cheap collar thing. Perhaps all of your £20 went on the fragrance rather than the quality presentation. That's
Perhaps.
one interpretation. Or
Yes.
it might just be a sort of general harbinger of absolute shiteness to come. You look very pleased. The fact that you've worn it all week suggests it's not actually that bad, though.
It's all right.
Is it?
it's not good.
It's not good.
It's not great, right? But it reminds me of a couple of things. It reminds me of CKB and Calvin Klein Eternity sort of vibes.
Right. So you're telling me that a Lionel Richie fragrance is not a sort of groundbreaking new perfume territory.
Surprisingly not, no. It smells like something from the early 90s. It's got a bit of a barbershop element to it.
Well, a Lionel Richie fragrance smells like it's from the 90s. No way!
I know, shocking, right? But yeah, basically it's like a masculine barbershop-y, very strong, like violet leaf sort of vibes to it.
Sounds good.
It does sound good.
It's all right,
you were selling me on this.
It's a little
I
bit
really
sweet.
like, I don't own it, but I remember it from the time. CKB was a nice fragrance. I like it.
It's got that sort of, from the reason I sort of thought about CK stuff is it's got that light, sort of synthetic woody sort of thing that they love. That's very like, sort of quite sweet as well. So almost sort of unisex kind of woody base. It's got that sort of thing going with it. It's not terrible. It's not good. Like don't get me wrong.
It's not
like,
good.
It's
not good. I mean, it's not terrible.
It's not breaking any
good.
sort of like boundaries here, but you could do a lot worse. It also reminded me a little bit of Paul Smith released a couple of fragrances, didn't he? One of them was called Paul Smith Extreme.
Oh yeah, that was all right. That
reminds me a little bit like that. It's got vibes of that to it as well. Yeah, you could do a lot worse for 20 quid, is what I would say. And the fact that it's Lionel Richie and it says hello, like in big capital letters, by Lionel Richie. I mean,
normally, I throw the boxes away, but I feel like that one's a keeper.
I'm keeping this one on the shelf.
Yep. I mean,
it's magnificent.
All I can really do is suggest, dear listener, that you go and check out Lionel Richie. Hello.
Well, weirdly, it's actually quite expensive on eBay.
What?
So we're not expensive, but it's like 30, 35 quid, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
which is more than I would
price
pay for
gouging. Price gouging on eBay.
Yeah. But yeah, if you can pick it up for £20 for 100ml, then you could do a lot worse. It's not great, but you could do a lot worse. I'll send some to you guys. Because it's definitely worth a smell, just the fact that it's a Lionel Richie perfume, really. And that's mostly what I've been wearing, along with this little number, Drakkar Intense.
Is that that's the newer one, isn't it?
Yeah, 2019.
Yeah, it's all right.
Which is weird in itself.
Yeah, I know.
Like, what the hell? Like, all of a sudden,
Didn't we all buy that? Did we all buy that?
Well, I bought it. I
did.
bought it when it came out. Yeah. It's nice.
Yeah, so did I. I haven't heard I've worn it since.
No, but I mean...
I only bought it last week for
£8 quid?
£8 quid. £8 quid I bought that for.
Yeah. What is that, a 30ml bottle or 100?
It's 30ml, yeah. And I just thought, like, again, like, you could do a lot worse for £8 quid.
What came over you that you suddenly went, like, I know what I need is a bunch of really inexpensive fragrances from 2019?
Well, so what happened, right, is I went to the shop to get Lionel Richie because I saw it.
You didn't set out deliberately to get that, did you?
I did, yeah. I saw it. So I went in there to get some bog roll, firstly. And then I saw Lionel Richie and thought, right, I'm going back for that because I didn't get it at the time, but I regretted it. As soon as I got home, I was like, I should have got Lionel Richie.
Man.
When I go back, it's going to be gone. It's the last one as well. It was the last one. No. So I was like, I've got to go back. There's a story about when I bought it as well. So anyway, so I thought, right, I'm going back. And when I was there, I was looking at the shelf and they actually had like a few other stuff. And they had like a bunch of like Issey Miyake and stuff like that. But then I saw Drakkar Intense and I thought, £8 quid? You know, I might as well. It cost me more.
Don't mix it up and wipe your ass with the wrong one.
But then I went to the counter, right? And because all the frags are locked up, because obviously this is in like London Road in Brighton, where basically it's like 50% shoppers, 50% junkies.
Nice. It's a good, it's a good mixture. Good ratios.
Yeah. It keeps things interesting when you go down there, for sure. It's like you never quite know who you're going to bump into. And,
Roger Dove.
Picking your bike up outside the shop is... Exactly. Funnily enough, it was just around the corner from where I saw Roger Dove.
Are you alleging that Roger Dove is the perfumer behind Hello? by Lionel Richie.
He might be.
I mean, it seems a stretch.
Or he might have been the bird that served me at the counter.
Yeah.
You never know.
You never know.
So the chick that served
Did
me
you
at the
just
counter,
say
right?
bird and then chick?
And chick, I did.
Yeah,
It's awful. I said them both within 30 seconds,
I know,
which is awful, isn't it?
It's fine. It's a endearing term.
It's absolutely
do you know what I
fine,
mean?
but
Ben's
I'm
fine
just
saying that,
surprised that, like, you know, you banging on about 2019 perfumes that basically are essentially retreads of something from the 90s, and, you know, bird and chick. Suddenly, soon you're going to be
Maybe
like
that's what it is.
growing your sideburns out and sort of like walking around.
Ben's not like that, guys. Come on.
Ben's
never
definitely
know.
not like that.
Let's not cancel Ben. Come on.
That
It's
could
all right.
be what
You can
it is.
say bird. You can say chick. It's fine.
Well, so the lady, the young woman, the lovely young woman at the counter, I said, can I get a couple of perfumes as well? And she said, yeah, what ones do you want? Like, they're all here, so you just tell me what you want. And I was like, oh, this is going to be really embarrassing because I want Lionel Richie. And I said, oh, Dracar Noir. And Dracar Intense, rather. And she was like, yeah, okay. She like rifled around and got it. And she's like, what's the other one? And I just sort of pointed and went, that one.
Hello.
And she just was like, this one? And I was like, yeah, it just looks awful, doesn't it? It's got to be great. And she just looked at it and she went, yeah, it looks pretty cool, that. And I just thought,
Oh.
you're a reasonable salesman.
Yeah.
At least you didn't make me feel like a dick.
Yeah, exactly. That's nice. I mean, it's
Brighton sounds amazing, you know? Just walking around, bump into Roger Dove and then a smackhead and then fucking super hands and then, you know, another smackhead.
Super
It
Hands
sounds
is
great.
always around. Yeah, you do see him quite a lot.
Oh, really?
He used to eat in. My ex-girlfriend used to work in a Japanese restaurant, and he used to eat in there like every day. And she used to get pictures of him all the time because she loved him. So she just kept asking him for pictures. She had
Every day.
a collection of selfies with Super Hands. Yeah, there you go.
Very bizarre.
Yeah, so that was my week with Hello. It was not as bad as you might imagine.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm impressed. I'm impressed. So I wanted to share a little story on the back of our episode from last week, slamming the Grammin, so it was after we'd recorded that episode, but before the episode came out, and I'm pretty sure we touched on the subject of people selling PR products. Anyway, that Tom Ford, which I'd sent you some samples of to smell, I sold that on Facebook. But somebody took a photo, a screenshot of my Facebook post and sent it to Essential, who were the company who had sent it to me for review. And they sent me an email. This is all within the space of about an hour. They sent me an email demanding that I took it down. And in the end, I did take the sales post down, but I sent them quite a forthright email saying, look, mate, this is mine to do with what I want. I could charge you commercial rates and sort of say it's £250 or £500 for a post, but I don't do that. You know, I take the photo, I think about the perfume, I write some sort of review, all of which is, you know, time and energy and equipment that I have to use. So after all that's said and done, I pretty well feel like I can do what I want with the perfume. And my personal sort of thing is that I don't sell like indie stuff where it would be detrimental to the brand. But, you know, as we discussed, I think a Tom Ford perfume is, it's worth pennies to the brand, if even that. I mean, it doesn't even register. Anyway, they were really, they actually came back and said, yeah, I sort of get that, but from our point of view, we just can't have it that the brands see people, you know, getting PR stuff and selling it, because that jeopardizes our potential relationship with these brands, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, okay.
I'll sell them for you for a cost.
Yeah, well, I was like, yeah, cool. So I'll get James to sell them, and it'll be right. No, I was more just kind of amused, if you like. Well, not amused. I was a bit cheesed off, I think, is the honest truth. But you know, there was a certain irony to the timing of it, where you know, we'd just recorded this episode, but we hadn't put it out yet. And someone decided to fucking dob me in
Well, you clearly already had a troll or somebody who is out for fucking blood on that regard, because you were on that list.
Yeah.
I'm not accusing like the same.
No, it's probably
person.
not the same person.
Not that we know who that is.
Yeah.
No, but there's people gunning for. This is part of it as well. When you're part of this kind of discourse about that sort of thing, but you're also kind of involved in it at the same time. You're going to open yourself up to that kind of shit, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? I think you're consistent in that you go to the people who sent you the stuff straight away and go, this is my justification for doing it. And quite rightly, really, I mean, if they say, yeah, we don't really like that or whatever, but the truth of the matter is they can't tell you to not sell something. No. They gave it to you.
Exactly.
And it's your property to do what you want with. From a legal standpoint, but the only thing is they might not fucking send you stuff in the future.
Well, they're not going
because
to. They said they will, actually. No. But I said, look, well, I'm assuming you're not going to be sending me any stuff anymore, so let me be very frank with you, all right? I don't ask you for any fucking money, and you shouldn't really tell me what the fuck to do with this. I didn't swear. Obviously, I was more polite. That was the abridged version of what I sent. If you put it into AI and said shorten this to 8 words and put swears in it, then that's what it would have come up with. But obviously, it was more professional. But anyway, I mean, I don't know. People, like, who in their right mind gets so fucking bent out of shape about that? It's just, it's a madness.
Don't know, but you should make a sock puppet Facebook account now called Don, with your glasses on the back of your head or whatever and some googly eyes, and sell all your stuff under that account.
Yeah. Well, I may or may not have already registered a sock, but it's just possible that you may see some random sock start selling things.
Well, I think you've done it from a standpoint of total transparency in that you've put your, you as yourself out there to say, yeah, I am selling this shit because, I did there was a sort of a transaction, I made a post, and now, I mean, what do they expect you? No, you must keep that perfume and have a big fucking wall behind you like Joe sent me or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, why do I I don't need to keep everything that you send me. I've done the deed now. I've posted the fucking post. I said it was mediocre, and now it's moved on.
No, that's.
I made a few quid out of it. That's fucking end of story.
I think that's absolutely spot on. I did put at the. Where is it? I said, it seems to me that you want me to create authentic content for free, and in return, I have to store your perfume at my house in perpetuity. That seems weirdly imbalanced. I mean,
that is a bit of a cunty thing to say. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
What?
It's a bit of a smart ass. They'll be like, "Oh, fuck off." Do you know what I mean?
What are you saying, James? You saying I might be a bit cunty from time to time? I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure that's fair.
I think it's shouty. Actually, is the
shouter. I'm a shouter.
Yeah.
No, anyway, they actually were sort of fairly polite about it, but I assume my relationship with them is toast, but actually that doesn't really bother me at all. Anyway, week in exciting perfumery. I wore for the first time in absolutely bloody ages this week Strictly Private, which is a Baldessarini. Is that how you pronounce it? I've never quite been sure how you pronounce that word. Strictly Private is a lovely sort of ambery job, which I got in a pharmacy in I want to say Bath. It was like this really oldie world pharmacy where they had those giant the glass sort of potion bottles, whatever they're called. What do you call them?
With some sort of mystery blue liquid in
it. Yeah. I feel like James will know what they're called, those sort of apothecary.
Those big pharmacy, like a apothecary flasks. I don't know what they call them. That they used to have in the windows.
Yeah, it had loads of them in this oldie worldy pharmacy, and I think the guy said it was the oldest pharmacy in Britain, which may or may not have been true. I didn't obviously have any evidence one way or the other.
Oldest operating, surely, because pharmacies go back, several millennia.
Yeah, I assume he meant oldest operating one. Yeah, I mean, a useful clarification, Ben. I mean, important. Still trading. And anyway, I got it for I think 20 quid in this pharmacy, and I was looking on eBay. They go for £200-300 now. It's fucking bananas. I mean, it's a very enjoyable perfume, but £200 to £300 is a reach for that. And I got sent an almost baffling number of perfumes by a brand called Maxim. And Maxim is...
Didn't that used to be a lads mag?
No, that was with an X. This is Maksim. And his full name is, I believe, Maxim Bortnikov. He's Dmitry Bortnikov's son. Who started his own brand, and they're called Maxim perfumes. And unsurprisingly, they're mostly pretty oody. I don't know whether he's sort of created the perfumes under his dad's sort of guidance or what, but he sent me 5 of them, and at least 3 of them are fucking banging. I haven't worked out this cheaper one yet. I'm not sure about it.
I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Might be wrong. I don't think the actual Bortnikov guy
is a perfumer.
Makes the perfumes, does he?
Does he do extractions and stuff? I don't know. What you think? Bortnikov's just like a brand impresario?
I thought that because he has collaborated with Russian Adam.
Yeah.
Who's the other guy? And I wasn't sure whether he just... Now, from my perspective, the Bortnikovs are way better than Arige Ladore.
Oh, right? That's so Russian Adam's brand, isn't it? Arige Ladore.
Yeah. Whatever he did to Russian Adam, because I know they've collaborated, definitely. They have something to do with each other. But I just thought he had ideas of my brand's going to be more floral. Basically, we're still going to have oud and all these other kind of things, but I'm just going to do floral ones. That Amber Cologne, is it called?
Oh, yeah.
Is it called Amber Cologne? That's an amazing perfume.
Really nice.
That is an amazing perfume. It's really, really good.
Well,
incredible kind of orange blossom, but really deep kind of base. And they still make fucking sloppy shit as well.
Sloppy
that's a bit like the Arige Ladore.
Is that a technical term?
Yeah, but generally, Bortnikov as a brand much more appealing to me than Arige Ladore, which are crap, right?
So, Dmitry Bortnikov, if you look on the website, it says Dmitry Bortnikov. It's a little bit ambiguous, so I thought I'd read it. It says, Dmitry Bortnikov, the founder of the brand, is an architect by profession and a perfumer by vocation. In 2013, he co-founded Fearlood, a company which distilled oils from the world's most expensive agarwood and sandalwood. The result of that experience was the creation of his own perfume brand, which combines traditional distillation techniques used in the 19th century with innovations to create modern masterpieces, blah, blah, yada, yada. So he's saying that he's a perfumer by vocation, and it's his brand, but he's not saying he is the perfumer. So there's a little bit of... it leads you to believe that he's the perfumer of all of them. But is he just a perfumer? Does he call himself a perfumer? And then I don't know. So who knows, really? There's a little bit of open to interpretation, really, isn't it, that?
I don't know.
So his son's perfumes are good, is what you're saying?
I'm going to say yes. They're interesting as well. The small challenge I've got is that whole Bortnikov Arige sort of world is not really a bunch of stuff that I'm particularly familiar with. So I don't know whether these are kind of retreads of other things or whether they are, similar to sort of previous releases. And to me, they seem original, but that's only because it's not the sort of normal style I'd go with. Does that make sense? I mean, it's possible they are entirely original and wonderful, and nothing else is out there like it. But I feel like those Arij and the Bortnikovs and the few that I've tried, I've thought, wow, that's really impressive stuff. But I don't really know anything at all about that space of perfumery, if you like. So I'm going to give them a whirl, but I think I might make you some samples and send them over, because I'd definitely be interested in your opinions. And he's like sent me 5 fucking full bottles, which is mental. So I've got more perfume than I can...
Get them sold. Get them sold.
Yeah, thanks for that, Maxim. I've decided to sell them.
Some dickhead will buy fucking... Yeah.
Well,
some
there's always
idiot will
someone.
buy them for fucking some daft price.
No,
I owned a couple of Bortnikovs.
You own a couple, or you had a couple?
Go on. No, I owned.
No.
I sold. I ended up selling them on, actually, because I didn't really wear them. But I've owned a couple, and they're both really good. But they're strange perfumes. Like they're definitely got that indie vibe. You know, we were sort of talking earlier before we started recording about things that are a bit rough and indie. You know, there's definitely I don't want to say bathtub vibe, because that sort of downplays it, but you know what I mean. Like a bit of
a bathtub vibe.
Yeah, it's a bit of that indie rough edge, which is actually what I liked about them. But yeah, I ended up selling them both on, because didn't really.
Which ones were they?
But
do you remember?
Chypre du Nord was one of them, and
I did try that.
I
didn't like Chypre du Nord at all. I remember thinking, "Ooh, it's a Chypre. I'll probably really like that," and it was like, blah. Seat Nova, I've heard of, but I don't think I've ever tried it.
I remember there was a really chocolatey oud one. Do you know the one I mean?
No, so I don't know. I'm not that up with them either, to be honest. I know like the 2 that I owned, but no others.
I'll tell you what I've got. Beep, 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 beep. I've got a news flash.
Oh, have you got a duck alert?
No. You'll be pleased to hear it's from a different source this time.
Okay.
It's from Exons Milan.
Exons
I know Dan
Milan.
loves talking about that, don't you?
Oh, fucking boring cunts, yeah. Go on. So.
You're just jealous that you're not there. So, what was I going to say? I saw this video, right? And I remember thinking, fucking hell, that looks like, is that? And then I thought, it looks like fucking Hannibal Lecter in a fucking, like an Andy Warhol wig or something. It's like, who the fuck is this guy? And I was like, no way, that's Simon Le Bon, right? And it was Xerjoff have got a Duran perfume.
I saw it. Oh my God. Yeah,
it's everywhere on fucking Instagram.
Xerjoff do some really weird, like...
They do, yeah.
Crossovers.
Like Tony Iommi. Like, that was the most bizarre fucking thing. So they've done a Duran.
Is it the fact that it must be like the creative director of Xerjoff or whatever, it just has got this really shit record collection, and he's like, tell you what the kids would love.
Yeah,
they love a bit of Duran crossover. We'll get on that. No one's done it yet. We'll get on that.
A luxury brand, and they were like, yeah, I know. We'll get Black Sabbath fucking guitarist.
Yeah,
like what?
Well, he did something with what's his name from Queen as well.
Was it
the bushy-haired cunt guitarist from
Brian May?
Yeah, he did something with Brian May as
Brian
well.
May.
It's like he's basically just got this Rolodex of like sort of has-been fucking pop and rock icons that he wants to sort of keep close with. So he fucking makes perfumes with them. But I watched because obviously every fucking twat in Milan was live streaming their fucking Simon Le Bon and fucking Duran, and honestly, it's like, who is this fucking fat has-been cunt, Simon Le Bon? And I say that with some great affection for Simon Le Bon's, musical catalogue, but I mean, well,
Really?
I admit to having loved a lot of Duran Duran's stuff back in the day, but have they been fucking relevant for like what ever for a long, long time? No, they're just irrelevant. He's just like this sort of. He just looks. He used to be like this kind of beautiful fucking specimen, and now he just looks like a washed-up has-been with a fucking paunch, banging on about this club. Yeah, you go. He was telling the story about you walk down the road and you kind of come across this portico and you enter. It's the greatest club in the world. All these beautiful people and lovely food. I like food. Fucking.
Don't fat shame him. Come on.
Fat shaming him.
We've all got a paunch. Come on.
I can't fucking throw stones in that particular glass house myself. But even so, I just like, what is the point of a fucking Simon Le Bon Duran Duran perfume? And you just know it's going to be yet more Xerjoff dog shit. They haven't made a good perfume it's like they're made for each other. Xerjoff haven't made a good perfume in fucking 10 years, and Duran Duran haven't been relevant for 20 years. It's like these two people are just perfect for each other. And why is every fucking person I know streaming this from Milan, like as though this is the most seminal fucking moment in modern perfumery? Is it fucking arseholes?
I would like to request Xerjoff put out their next crossover be with David Byrne from Talking Heads.
Yeah,
like that would be that. It's in the right ballpark, but it was like they're cool. I'd buy that.
I wouldn't.
To be fair, that's a cool one, though, isn't it? You know what I mean? That's.
I'm not fucking.
It's equally as odd.
I take it you didn't actually watch the Simon Le Bon thing.
I saw I saw a little snippet just of him talking about the club and going, oh, it's full of beautiful people.
Exactly.
Really.
Yeah.
It's like,
full of.
Do you know the one I mean? There was like Hannibal Lecter in a fucking thingy wig. It looked like do you know the other little one who spoke as well? Oh
God!
He was like, and he nearly did. I thought he was going to do a mic drop. He was like. He didn't say much, and then they were going, "Oh, yeah, we were going to talk about pyramids or something," and they were like, "I don't know. I don't even care really." But anyway, that was my bit of news.
Yeah,
which I
no, it's just such fucking bullshit.
What else has happened at
S04? I don't even know how you pronounce it.
A couple of people contracted herpes.
Probably.
They have a fucking it always seems a bit like that. Like there might be shit going down at those little parties.
I'm clearly, and I will freely admit to being very jealous. All right, and really wanting to go, but then there's also that feeling like, well, I've already missed the fucking boat. So, I feel like, when I was at university, I was at university like 94 to 97 in Leeds, and it was sort of like, Ibiza, I won't bother, mate, you've missed the boat. Now, people keep going to Ibiza, and at some point, I would have liked to have gone to Ibiza and hit the clubs and stuff, but, I just feel like in the same way I've probably missed Essence. Right, the good version is probably gone, and it's been just replaced by these kind of dead-eyed fucking content-generating auto fucks who've got just nothing good to offer the world.
My impression of it is that the only reason we see that is because you kind of follow a lot of them.
That's true. It's all my fault.
I think it's still like No, I still think it's like an industry event, isn't it? It's not really like, it's not mostly influencers. I think we just get that impression.
Yeah, you still get a lot of writers and stuff there, don't you?
Yeah, and people who are actually in the business, who run, you know, retail fucking shops or whatever, all that kind of shit, and are just maybe adjacent to the industry. And then you might get a few just off their own bat who are enthusiasts who want to go. I'm assuming, you know, quite a lot of Italian people go. I don't know. Like, it just seems like it's like a trade show. I don't even know what you would call it. What is it? It's just a expo, isn't it?
Big ass expo.
To be honest, we say about the sort of like dead-eyed and sort of sweaty people and stuff like. I've been to a few trade shows for hairdressing back in the day, and they're all like that anyway. And this was even before, really. Well, I suppose it wasn't before the age of influencers, but it was before like the huge boom of everyone can be an influencer. Do you know what I mean? Like, influencers were still sort of few and far between, I suppose, back then. And it was still like that. It was still full of sweaty, dead-eyed people.
I think they're always sweaty, these events. I think unless they're very well... Like,
I mean, basically, you're cramming like thousands of people into an arena that have got to be there for like 3 days, and most of them probably don't want to be there. Yeah. And, it's...
Have you ever been, you know, eating loads and getting pissed every night, and so there's loads of farts in there and stuff? It must be great. I mean, they need the perfume to cover that shit up. No, I think... have you ever been to a tattoo convention?
Yeah, same thing.
They're horrendous.
There's one in Brighton actually this weekend, I think.
Oh, is there? Oh, yeah. Cool. They're all sweaty and horrible. I've only been tattooed at one once. I've got a terrible tattoo on my back. Right? I'd had my back done at a convention, and people just come up and just like go up. Do you know what I mean? They stand there and watch you getting tattooed. You're like, this is weird. You're in like a fucking... I think it was in... what used to be like the G-Max or whatever in Manchester.
Yeah. I mean, it's still there.
That
it's
big, you imagine
being
in there, getting fucking tattooed. Yeah. Weird. And even that, like, you think, it shouldn't be like oppressively sweaty and horrible in here, but it is.
Well, that's probably what Essence is like.
Yeah, but there is. I always thought Pitti Friganzi, which is in. Florence, or what do they call it? Firenze. Firenze.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. That looks a bit less influencery, but I might be wrong. But that seems like the kind of maybe the cool kids show to go to rather than.
Well, I've had to suffer through several days of, Essence. I mean, at first it's, hey, I'm going to Essence. Are you? Let's meet up. And then it's, hey, I'm on my way to Essence. Here's my travel fucking vlog. And then it's, oh my God, I'm at Essence. Here, look, there's Jeremy Fragrance. Fuck off.
To be fair, though, Dan, if you went, would you do similar stuff? Come on.
Probably.
I like to think that I would go, I'm going to walk round like fucking trenchcoat mafia, just like not speaking to anybody, just going like, fuck off. I was into fragrances before you cunts. Fuck off. And just walking around, going to the desks and stuff, and sniffing the perfume, going, oh, it's all really uninspiring. Oh, crap. And then, but like, fucking, what's his name coming up to me? Our mate from fucking, Jet 2 or whatever. Oh, hi, you're Houdini. Oh, fuck off. Do you know what I mean? Just like, anybody like that, just, fuck you. But I'd actually be like, oh, all right, mate. How you doing? And I'd be, Jeremy Fragrance is over there. And if someone went, do you want to come for a fucking panini with, yeah, I do, actually. Yeah. So I'd be the first little two-faced little cunt who basically thinks he's all cool and too cool for school. And then when I got there, I'd be like, hey, hiya, you all right? Fucking, so I get it. I get it.
I freely admit I am just a jealous hater, but it's more that the fact that this kind of agony just gets stretched out. It gets stretched out before, during, and then after. It's like, you have another 2 weeks of, I wish I was back at Essence. This is the greatest fucking time of my life. Here's a picture of me with fucking Fanny Magoo and fucking Jimmy.
I hate all that. The lads are on tour in fucking Milan. It's like,
Du Bois. Anyway, so Essence. Right, let me pivot to something else. Why don't we have a little bit of a chat about the Frag Place? And sorry for the inelegant segue. I should probably disclose at this moment as well that the Frag Place very kindly stumped up enough money for us to keep recording this podcast for 6 months. So it's not a huge sum of money. It basically covers our recording fees. Not recording, what's it called? The StreamYard subscription for about 6 months. So you can probably work that out. So they very kindly agreed to give us a small amount of cash in return for a discussion about their website. However, I think it's fair to say our customary sort of disclosure, what you are about to hear is a fairly honest and unfiltered review of said website. Now, the Frag Place is essentially it's a newer, better version of Fragrantica, is the bottom line. I mean, I think we could sort of ponce around our handbags on that and try and sort of call it something else. But I think the reality is it's a better, cleaner version of Fragrantica. And Fragrantica, the reason Fragrantica is so fucking awful to use is because it was never built as a website. It was built on like a bunch of old, whatever they're called, community site type things with a load of fucking plugins and nastiness built on top of it. And then advertising, just sort of splattered everywhere. And Fragrantica certainly has some usability issues, but it is the site that I sort of hit the most just for fucking checking information about perfumes. And I think the Frag Place have got a pretty fucking...
Hold on. No. I've just... No, I'm just... It's not the Frag Place because there's actually a website called The Frag Place, which is different. It's just Frag Place, I believe.
Okay.
I've only just discovered that. I'm not being a smart ass. That's just...
No. It's
while we're on the name, I just... I'll tell you what, the fourth fucking Beatle who's not here today, not Fliss, sorry, fucking our Geordie friend. Oh, right. Rich Mitch. Do you know what he said as soon as I mentioned, because I sort of ran this past him just to be like,
he will have said something like, "It's fucking shite. No, I don't know why I went on fucking shite. I went all Northern Ireland.
It's called Frag Place. Shit name. What a shit name. Straight away. And I was like, I mean, it does what it says on the tin, I
actually don't disagree. It's not the most inspired name.
It's not the best name, is it? No.
But so I sort of split my feedback into 3 buckets. I've got stuff that I think is good, stuff that I think needs some work, and stuff that I'm a little bit unsure about, if I'm honest. So I'm just going to sort of work through that and then drag you guys into bits and all that jazz. I mean, I think straight out of the box, first thing for me in the good front is it's a way cleaner interface, just a much nicer experience than Fragrantica. It's got slightly weird like AI generated notes, pictures and stuff. Some of them are a bit
the orange looks like a brain.
Yeah. A few of them look really fucked up. But then, Fragrantica have been using pita breads for Orris Root forever. So, which I know is actually correct and is what they look like. But nevertheless, I still see pita breads. I mean, it looks like an actual real website. So to me, it's very easy to use. It's much cleaner, and you're not sort of bombarded with adverts yet. Or I did speak with the founder, and she said that they are going to sort of make their money through affiliate links, which is not a huge kind of shocker. They have to make their money somehow, but as long as they don't sort of like vomit up advertising onto every fucking spare fucking inch of screen space, I think that's good. In terms of things that need work. I found there was a few performance bugs. Like, it took me a few login attempts a couple of times. A couple of times it was easy, worked first time. A couple of times it didn't. And although it does load much better than Fragrantica, it's still like where you go to, I don't know, if I searched Henri Jacques and it brings up like 60 images, it took longer than I'd expect for all those images to load.
I found one of your reviews here.
I did write a couple just to see what it was like.
Galileo.
Yeah.
God tier perfume. Reference level.
Yeah. Well, that's about right, I think. Yeah. Well, I'm into the whole brevity sort of thing.
So the reviews on there, they're not up to much. But that's not the creator's fault, is it? You can only fucking work what work with what you give it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go
well, so I mean, I was trying to build my collection, right? And obviously it's easy if you've got 10 perfumes, right? So you can go and look them up and add them one at a time. If you've got like, I don't know, I don't even know how many perfumes I've got, but it's a fucking lot, right? What you want to do is go to a brand and then just select all the ones you've got, like tick, 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 and just say add, right? And I figure for them to genuinely displace Fragrantica, they have to essentially remove all the barriers for people to go and use their site. And the biggest barriers, I think, are going to be, all the reviews are on Fragrantica already. I've published them all. So what can I do about that? And I've got my fragrance wardrobe. I hate that expression, by the way, but I've got my fragrance fucking wall or whatever the fuck on Fragrantica. So I reckon if they really want to win this, what they need to do is build a migration tool that allows you as a user to basically press a button and have it suck all your reviews and all your perfume wardrobe out of Fragrantica and publish it on Fragplace. Without that, I think they are always going to be fucking facing an uphill battle.
Not an easy thing to do. And I don't know whether you want to share the knowledge of what the person's done previously. Are we allowed to say that?
Yeah, I don't.
Well, we won't. Cut it out if you want. But from what you said, they've done.
I don't think it's a problem.
They've done something similar before, but that was with iTunes library and Spotify, right?
Yeah. But so this is her husband's other company. They do that. They have like a migration service between music streamers or something. I've got just a sense that that's maybe more straightforward, because does it almost like, because it's not just going off the name. Well, even if it was just the name of the track, I don't know how these things work. I'm not a fucking IT literate coding fucking person, but I think that it sounds to me like all reviews and linking the perfumes and all that, they haven't even got a particularly comprehensive. Well, it's fairly comprehensive. Don't get me wrong; it's pretty good. But
had Lionel Richie hello. I did check.
That's really all that anyone cares about these days, I think.
Precisely.
You're not wrong in what you're saying. I get that would be fantastic, but I think that's a huge ask. And I almost feel as though if you were convinced to move away to a new platform and new something else, I think you might be inclined to want to make a fresh start. It's almost kind of liberating for me to think I have thousands of reviews.
I am acutely aware.
Thousands.
I can't look up a perfume without fucking stumbling on one of your
finding
reviews.
My fucking ass on there.
It's a Houdini, yeah. I agree, but I think I think some people definitely will want to make a clean break, and some people will be crying out for just a better, more usable fucking thing, in which case this does the job brilliantly. And in fairness, from my point of view, I don't really contribute a lot on Fragrantica, and I don't really bother with listing all my perfumes anyway, because it's too much hassle to keep up to date. But that said, without the reviews, without all that content already in place, they're going to be fighting an uphill battle, and they somehow I think need to be able to yoink a lot of reviews from existing places and aggregate that somehow up into Fragplace as a sort of almost like a baseline, because it's you want to read about a perfume. Are you going to go to the place that's got 60 articles or the place that's got none? And it's simple, right? It's just mathematically impossible.
I don't know. You see,
compete.
so you say that, right? But if I look up a perfume, first and foremost, I'll hope, and it used to be base notes, but I would hope that it would pop up on like Parfumo or base notes or something, because Fragrantica for me is last ditch, because I don't want to read what like half of their fucking commenters write anyway, because it's trash.
It's quality over quantity, isn't it?
I like this website. I thought it was really clean and really fast, and I didn't really have any sort of bugs. I sort of think that they really need to add some kind of like channel that users can like ask feature requests or put bug reports, because there are a few features that I think are really important that are missing, and a few that are really lacking. But for me, it's like, I don't know, the website itself sort of suggests that they're kind of trying to do something a little bit more professional and slick than Fragrantica. And if they can pull that off and they can maintain a user database that's kind of in those... So I suppose the problem is, as soon as you hit mainstream, you get everyone. You get the plebs, basically. I mean, how many reviews on Fragrantica are literally people that are like, I ain't even smelt this perfume, but reckon it's going to be good. And you're just like, okay, that's literally told me nothing. Like, that's no value to me whatsoever.
You're so right. I mean, one of my pet peeves about
Fragrantica is so bloated as well now. Sorry.
No, you're right. It is bloated in every regard. One of my pet peeves is where people downvote stuff or liken it to the poop emoji perfume, and it's like, really? I mean, that might have been funny once, but like to just like, you can sort of almost hear them laughing to themselves. Oh, poop emoji, dickheads. I really wish them well with this. I do think it's a much better experience, but I worry that without the actual content and without the ability for people to migrate their own content, that it's going to be difficult, because Fragrantica is sticky for people. There's a reason Fragrantica is still the dominant sort of website for this shit, because it's sticky. It holds people in.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I think anything like this, any sort of website that relies on content from your users, obviously lives and dies on the back of that content, right? And so you need to be able to create a way for them, for the content to be created easily, so that you can get a lot of it. And I think at the moment there are like one or two barriers, like you say, like you need to remove all of those barriers. Like the forum, it's not that good, it's not very particularly robust, and I think you do need to foster some sort of community for this. And the other thing is, it's like, say I was looking up Dior, right? Just because they're a good example in this case. Now, Dior have got like nearly 300 perfumes, but if I want to see just the, Sauvage or just the Maison Dior's, there's no way of filtering them whatsoever. So I've got to click through 285 perfumes when I might just want to, I know the perfume's in the Sauvage collection, for example. Like, why can't I just filter that? That makes that quite a ball ache, and it's those little barriers like that are going to push people away. And so I think they really need some kind of some sort of dev communication portal or a channel where you can suggest things like features to the devs or bugs to the devs or whatever, to make it easier. Because I actually really back this. I think we need more competition in that space. Before base notes, I always thought for a long time base notes you sort of took a bit more seriously. Do you know what I mean? Because the people on there seem to be real
cunty.
Yeah, more cunty, more into like sort of real enthusiastic kind of people. But now that's sort of gone by the by, isn't it? And all we've really got is Parfumo, which is super hit and miss, or Fragrantica. And like, so, I think there's room for a website to come in and compete. It's just, and God knows it would be not a shocking thing to see Fragrantica just burn in flames, because everything about it's a shit pit. But like,
I think that works.
It's going to be difficult for them.
Yeah, I think what works in the fact that there could be an alternative, because a lot of people are not very happy with Fragrantica and their sort of political bias and some of the things that they've put into it. Now, I'm one of these people who accepts that everybody, if you're in an open kind of forum, politics, are gonna come up, right, in some capacity. So I'm not somebody who's like, the separating completely the it's personal things. So like I say, it's inevitable. But there is a degree of let's just stick to kind of perfume and not have the actual people who are in charge of the site kind of preaching or removing certain things that they don't like in favor of things that they're okay with. And there's a lot of that. And a lot of people are turned off it. And generally people who are more artistic, liberal kind of minded, certainly don't like feel alienated by Fragrantica now. I use it as a resource. So my whole thinking on this is, yes, I'm not one of these people who says, oh, something's already been done, so why are you bothering? Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, well, if everybody took that attitude, then things wouldn't evolve or innovate or whatever. So there's always room for something, but it will be a big uphill struggle, because even just converting somebody like me, who, again, I don't particularly like Fragrantica, I don't really like what it's about. I don't mind the interface. I get that it's dated and it's not as good as some of these slick looking ones and all that. But as a quick resource, which is all I really need, I'll use it. And a lot of the criticism, I've said this as well before, that people like to go, oh, how inaccurate is Fragrantica? Oh. And it's like, yeah, it is sometimes, right? Okay, they get a couple of things wrong with note listings or whatever, but generally speaking, it's pretty accurate, right? And usually it's just the blurb from the brand or whatever. It's usually the right perfume. I mean, yes, there are exceptions, but think about how many thousands of perfumes are on there. It's not that bad, right? Because it became a thing where people were like, oh yeah, as if saying that kind of meant that you were sort of in the kind of in crowd of like, oh, Fragrantica shit. And it's like, it really isn't. Like, let's just have it right. So as a quick sort of resource for me to use on a new perfume that comes out, and to be honest, they're pretty slow on the uptake on a lot of them. Some things that were just not on there for ages. And they did build in like a request thing where you could request stuff. So basically there's a model there for them to follow of things not to do, like base notes. Try to attract some of those hardcore people from base notes, listen to the people that are using it, and try and make it a true community where people can like come together and kind of forget other things and just realize that, that it's a discussion about perfume, and make it a kind of, a happier space than some of the other ones have become. But again, there's that Parfumo, which I don't use, which to me looked like a slick version. I was like, yeah, it looks great. But I've still never really bothered to use it. I can't be arsed rewriting. I said, oh, I'd relish a fresh thing. Not particularly, because I'm just using Fragrantica. So I'm the worst, I'm like the typical, oh yeah, I want to save the planet, but I still buy stuff with single-use plastic on it. Do you know what I mean? And every time I put it in the bin, I'm like, I'm part of the fucking problem here, right?
Yeah.
But make it easier for me to not be a twat. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because my life's fucking hard enough, and it's difficult enough for me to make a huge amount of effort to do these things, even though I want to, you know?
Yeah, I get that. I mean, so I spent quite a lot of my professional life getting people to move from one set of IT systems to another. And it's always the same challenge is, what's in it for me? So, what are the positives? What can I get from it in some way? Mm-hmm. And how are you going to make it easier for me? What do you do to take away the barriers? And it just seems to me that the Fragrantica is ripe to be displaced, right? It absolutely is, because I know, James, you don't mind it, but I find it infuriatingly slow, just infuriatingly slow. And the interface is clunky and it looks horrible. And I
doesn't load well on a phone either. They've never really done anything
it doesn't
with that
play
with phones,
nicely there. No. I find the whole thing horrible, right? But even so, even though I think what's in it for me is right there. It's going to be a nice, clean, slick interface, super easy to use, nice, clear pictures, links to social media stuff that you can turn off, I guess, if you want, and stuff. It's lovely, right? All great. The what's in it for me. The barriers, though, the barriers to migrating are immense, and I wish them luck, and I will certainly use Fragplace, but I can't, in all good faith, say I'm convinced that they will actually succeed in this mission at this stage. But I hope they do.
I sort of feel the same. Even without talking about rivals or displacing Fragrantia, it's just good to have another website in the space, because criminally there's only really one, and like you say, but I do think Parfumo, like you say, is a good warning to them in a way. Like, Parfumo doesn't get used very often because it lacks in content, right? And that's, I think, a good warning, of what can happen to a website that can just end up sort of flapping around in limbo, which it's never quite made it, but it's still decent enough, and it'd be nice for them. Like I say, I would like it to see it do well, because there was enough on it for me. I thought, this is nice. I like the way this is working. But yeah, I feel like it's in its infancy. Give it time and it will grow. Which is why I think it'd be nice for them to add some way of people out to ask feature requests and stuff like that, because I think that might help them to streamline their growth or their development. And
I do know that they are funding this themselves. So Isa is her name. I want to say Isa, but I think it is Isa, as in Isabel. And Isa and her husband are essentially self-funding this thing. She's into perfume and is a product manager who's kind of got some experience developing products. Her husband's a web developer who makes technical shit, and it seems to fit quite nicely. She seems like a good egg, and I wish them luck with it. But they've got quite a tough journey ahead, I think, is the bottom line. Okay, any final thoughts on Fragplace? Not the Fragplace, Fragplace.
I wish them well as well. Saying that, I will make an effort to use it, and not only because they've sort of reached out to us to kind of give them a bit of promotion to again, sort of hardcore listeners of ours who will go and check it out, and hopefully we'll get some sort of feedback about what they think about it, or they might be able to give ideas as to how they could improve it or make it better. And I think that's what it's about. It's a two-way conversation. And I like ingenuity and people certainly putting their own money behind things and trying to do something as what I perceive as it's a kind of passion project. Because why would you? I mean, like you say, it is you would look at this as a commercial opportunity as well, and something that where you go, actually, like you say, Fragrantica's ready to be superseded by something else. It's just a long old road to make that happen. But if they could really grow it, and there's no reason why they couldn't. Like, it would take a long time, but I certainly think it's not insurmountable. And I would never just piss on someone's dreams and go, no, you shouldn't bother. We've already got one, thanks. All the doors are closed. Gatekeepery shit as usual. Do you know what I have just thought of? And if anyone nicks this fucking idea, I'm gonna
you're not going to
speak
tell
to my
everyone.
lawyers. Well, I'd feel like telling people, can't be arsed doing it myself. But imagine what would be good, and it's even more niche because it's not for general people, but one for materials. Imagine a Fragrantica, or like similar, Frag Place, whatever, but for individual molecules, fucking chemicals, naturals, where you can get them, what they are, what fragrances they're used in, discussions about them between hobbyists, perfumers. They could have exactly the same kind of pages as Fragrantica does. There was a resource that I think the guy, he passed away or something.
Sorry, I don't know why I laughed at that. That's unfair.
Good. It's called like Good Sense or something, and it's a kind of database of chemicals.
Yeah, it tells you what they smelt like and things like that. Like, yeah.
But it was that's very old. That looks like fucking some MS-DOS shit. Right? It's proper fucking old as shit. But the Good Sense Company, it was called. And that was just a kind of passion thing. And it would show, 3D diagrams of molecules. And, you could click on different things, show different suppliers, who the things were, all that kind of stuff. And I think that would be cool. But again, it's a very niche thing. And I think if somebody started that in its kind of infancy and got people involved in that, that could potentially grow, because then you get people like Pellwall or whoever, coming and saying, oh, I want to advertise on there or whatever. Okay, it's a much smaller niche, but that could be interesting. There's some there's a French company who I started getting materials off because they were freshly made. They were really, really good. They had loads of their own bases and naturals and all different kinds of things. And they were always just supplying to industry, but then they decided, why don't we just do small things like kits for hobbyists? And then that became, that's another arm to their business, which is really welcomed by this kind of movement of people who want to make their own perfume. So a resource like that would be cool in that space. If any
anyone
IT
does it,
people
you're going to sue them.
Yeah, basically no. I mean, it's an idea, and I'd use it. I think it would be cool.
Tell you what I saw actually about Frag Place and immediately thought of James was on your profile. You can click like what you're wearing for your scent of the day, and it adds it to a calendar, and then you can look at your calendar and see. And I just thought that's like the ideal thing to get your full 14 from, isn't it?
Exactly. That would be
automated full
really
14.
Useful. Yeah, that would be cool.
Proper full 14. Excellent. All right, Ben, any final thoughts on Frag Place?
Just hope it does well. So I liked it, generally speaking. I thought it was nice, thought it was quick, thought it was clean. Did wonder how long it will stay like that, say if they're going to bombard it with adverts or whatever. But I think a little bit early days at the moment. Get rid of some of the jankier AI images or replace them with other AI images, whatever, but just get rid of them. And, hopefully, like I said, it's one of them things. It's going to need a community to grow, isn't it? And it's going to take a little bit of time to build that. So hopefully they've got they've got all that in the pipeline.
Hopefully
I think it's, like I say, I don't think you can, another website, happy days.
Well, hopefully they've got the commitment.
Yeah, speaking of AI images, just to, get off the topic of perfume, because we've been quite hardcore. We've been pretty good on this episode.
We have been, reasonably
I
on
don't like the AI images that are on there. just because it's a bit tacky in it. It's a bit like,
I think you can tell miles away. So that the first thing it made me think of was there was this like record website that I saw a little while back, and it was basically it was a guy offering to buy records in Japan and send them over. So you would send him, like, he was like an agent, a purchasing agent essentially.
Yeah.
Like, you'd send him a list of records you want. He would go to like the record shops in Tokyo and find them. So if you want like real secondhand jazz rarities and stuff like that, he could go and dig them out for you.
right.
And but his website was entirely AI, and so he had all these images of people standing around record decks looking at these fucking plate-sized records. The AI clearly doesn't know what the record is or the function.
Yeah.
So you had all these people sort of looking at records in just a slightly unnatural way, and like it was really weird. It was like, are they dinner plates? Are they records? What are they? Like it was, and to be honest, I just didn't use the guy because it immediately made me think tacky, nasty, like recoil. Yeah.
I was just going to say, there's this guy on YouTube, and he's very popular. He's kind of like a sort of Oxbridge little fucking geeky motherfucker. He's like in his like 20s or something. He's a right little know-it-all, he can't, but he is clever. And he has these little things where he like talks to ChatGPT, and he gives them like moral conundrums where he like fucks their head up, and he talks to them for hours. He talks to like the really advanced ones and goes, yeah, but you've just told me that you would do this, and if I saved the baby, then it would kill all these people, and blah, blah. And you talk, no, I didn't mean it like that. Blah. And the AI's like trying to reason with him and stuff, and he's going, yeah, but you've just contradicted yourself there because you said, and he has these amazing conversations. Anyway, he said, you can't get an image of a full glass of wine, right? He posted this video today. Check it out. It's basically, AI, because it's obviously trained by things, hasn't got any pictures of a full glass of wine. And he said, yeah, that's a full glass of wine. Like, it's about 2/3 full, like you would fill it for a person, but like fill it right to the top, like right to the, and the AI goes, oh, I'm very sorry. And it actually gives an apology. Yes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make it absolutely brim full so that you can just see the surface tension is just holding on so it's right to the brim. And it puts another picture up, and it's not full. Sorry, it's not full. Again, why can't you do a full fucking glass of wine? Blah, blah, blah. Because it's such a rare thing. No, it hasn't been trained. It doesn't have a picture of a full glass of wine. And even when he said, right, have it overflowing, make it overflow, then it'd still do a half full glass, but it'd be flowing out of a hole in the side of it and stuff like that. And he's like, it can't.
Fuck.
Yeah, certain things it cannot, because it hasn't got the training. It doesn't know what those things are. And then he goes into kind of like philosophy and how people like think about how the mind works, about how you can visualize something, or like blind people who've never seen color, they don't know what color is. So you can't, how do you, and it's the same with AI. It has to be like trained on all these different things. It's fascinating stuff, but about a full glass of wine.
Oh, brilliant. It's always the same. We get to the end of part one, and we end up talking about wine. And
that's true.
And my intentions to not drink wine during part two are always tested. It's very frustrating. Yeah. Okay, well, let's wrap up part one. It's been been very on topic, which is unusual for us, and it's because Fliss isn't here to sort of distract us with random interjections about kumquats and such like. So, oh yeah, I should have said Fliss. For people who are wondering how Fliss is doing great, but she is well, we are hoping to get her back at some point. She's going to try and pop in for a guest slot fairly soon. So, we apologise if all this sausage fest is too much, but I think we're making a reasonable fist of it without her. Yeah. Good, right. Let's wrap up part one there. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with part two of Les Oderants. Stick with us. Hello, and welcome back to part 2 of Les Oderants. This week we are talking about flankers. I had to explain to my mother earlier what a flanker was, because she'd never heard the expression, but I'm going to take it as read that everybody knows what a flanker is. Now, Ben, you suggested this episode, so I'm going to ask you, Ian looking absolutely shell-shocked now, I'm going to ask you why...
No, I feel a bit bad because it was me re-listening to the episode, the first one we came back after Christmas, and he just said it as an off-the-cuff just remark that he doesn't even remember saying. And I went, that'd be a great episode. And then now it's become an episode, and we're
what are we going to talk about?
What do we even mean by that? What the fuck are we going to talk about?
I think it'll be okay. I imagine we'll probably find stuff to talk about. That's my guess. So I want to talk about, because I know that there's some sort of story to this, and I can't remember it, and I feel confident you will, James. But Egoist and Egoist Platinum, which, as far as I can tell, are completely unrelated perfumes. I mean, they could not be further from each other. Yeah. I mean, officially, Egoist Platinum would be a flanker, but it's not really a flanker in the traditional sense that it tends to be. Flankers tend to have at least something in common with the thing of which they're flanking.
That used to be the case, yes, with sport versions or just slightly different, because that's the kind of evolution of it. Originally, a flanker was, I think, again, you can say it's going back to days of when they weren't just shameless cash grabs, where they just thought, oh, that's a formula that works, let's just copy that. Whereas it was, no, let's do something different, albeit less of it, because it's much more of a pain in the arse to get a different bottle, completely different, marketing, advertising, and all that stuff. There's a lot that goes with it. So it was a big deal when, even the big names released a new, different perfume. So it wasn't always a thing particularly, but then I think there's sports and the Eau Fraiches, and you know what I mean? There has been flankers. I'm not saying that it's not a thing, it clearly is. But it's a lot more of a thing now. And I think it is purely for... Not purely, sorry. It's partly for the wrong reasons some of the time, whereas they're like, we've got a load of this type of bottle, there's brand recognition, people know that they like that. Even if they don't even really like this, they might just get it because they like the original. There's some kind of, lizard brain fucking like, oh, I've had that before, so I'll try this new one sort of thing. So one of my friends who wears far too much perfume, is the kind of person that you can smell him like after he's gone for about 2 hours. But he basically just wears perfume like, he'll go through a bottle in no time. And he buys all the regular shit. Now, he's got some nice, tasteful stuff that we would like, but he also buys anything. So he said to me, oh, we've been away for half term. He said today, he goes, I bought that myself, YSL. And I was like, oh, I just made that like noise. And I said, no, it's not myself, it's myself. It's myself. Have you noticed that? That it doesn't have an E in it?
Yeah. I mean,
this is some Mandela fucking effect shit. I bet you thought it was myself, didn't you? The YSL.
Myself.
Yeah, it's myself. So anyway, he bought that, but he goes, oh, and then I went back to the duty free and they said, oh, do you know that you can get 40% off like any other fragrance now, or you've got 40% like discount? And he was like, oh, no. And it was already cheaper anyway. So he went and got that robot one from Paco Rabanne, and he goes, they're both exactly the same. Like, they are both exactly. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not really surprised. They're both soulless shite. I mean, that robot one said it had some kind of, the AI was involved in that. And can't we just fucking see that? Anyway, this aside, but it's that thing of there's just releases now that are like, okay, and they're kind of easier to make. In fact, some of the releases are so bad now that the flankers have a statistically, more probability of being better, right, than like the original ones. Because you can just go, oh, they might just change up the whole idea on this, and there's no guarantee that they're even going to smell the same. They probably will just smell exactly the same. But then there's also this parfum and different concentrations thing as well, which is also flankers. So they either are really copying what they've done the last time, tweaking it slightly and maybe making it better or worse, or just completely going for something that's totally unrelated. So a flanker can be anything, basically, can't it? But they just tend to be quite shit now, is what I think. That's the general trend of what I'm going to say. I hate to summarize a whole fucking hour's worth of discussion of what we're going to say in like the first fucking 5 minutes or whatever, but I think that's the conclusion that I've reached from looking at all these things, that it's just a fucking wasteland.
It's a fucking wasteland.
as we fucking wasteland. As we come back to last week's discussion as well.
So can you remind me the connection between Egoist and Egoist Platinum? Or did you do that and I just missed it?
Yeah, sorry, your original question.
I was worried that perhaps you'd actually answered that and I'd just been like, oh, tits.
No, I didn't like that question, so I made up my own and answered my own. No. I think that's an interesting one, right? That is an interesting one because it's kind of before the time of really twatty flankers, right? It's still in a kind of time, and I think they did that one. I think that's a really good example that you've picked on there, actually, Dan. Pat yourself on the back. Really good. Dog shit. Yay. Dan's gone. Dan's come back. Yeah. I think what that one represents is something that was like, if you did have some kind of recognition, there's potential that you could love Egoist and probably hate Platinum Egoist, because it is very, very, very different, to the point of like, there is not even an iota of similarity between those two perfumes. And I like them both, to be honest. I know Platinum gets a lot of grief because it's very metallic and strange. And I think the Clary Sage in that is like a complete revelation for me. And when I do wear it, I'm like pretty wowed by it. Yes, I can get that it has annoying elements, but there is a lot more depth. At least that's in and of itself a really good perfume. But I think that as an example is a really good one of where they took the brand recognition of Egoist and probably the popularity of it and thought, can we just shoehorn in like a completely random, like different one? And as far as I know, Platinum Egoist is still in production, so it can't have been that much of a flop or a failure. There must be people who liked it. Because it's still a thing,
Yeah, I mean, I like them both, but they're completely unrelated.
Yeah.
I mean, usually flankers are related in some sort of way. I mean, Ben, are there any sort of particularly memorable flankers that stand out for you as being good improvements over the original?
Yeah, so that's the funny thing, isn't it, right? So I always think, like, the idea, like the concept behind a flanker is really cool. Like, you've got a perfume that you really like, and here they've released a remix, it might be not as good, it might be better, but it's going to have like the core of what you like in it, and it's just going to be, like I say, remixed or something. And that idea is really nice, but like I think that idea has sort of been superseded now by like just stick a bottle out with the same name on it, and we'll call it a flanker and be done with it. And they're not related at all. I mean, you look at things like Issey-Miyake, L'Eau d'Issey, for example, like. The L'Eau d'Issey Perfume has got like 1 million flankers, and none of them are related in any way, shape, or form to the original. It's just weird. And so, like, do you even call those flankers? Or what about the Calvin Klein Summer Edition and things like that they release every year? Like, is that a flanker, or are you just at this point using the name? It's just weird. But in terms of like good ones, the best one that I can think off the top of my head, like recently, I think was really good was weirdly discontinued, and that was Guerlain L'Homme Ideal cologne.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which was a
I've
good
got that.
flanker, man. And in fact, I think all of that's a good example of flankers done right, I think, because the original perfume was okay. Bit, you're going to have people sort of disagree. And then the flankers seemed to riff off of it, and they did remix it, really. And that was cool. And I thought, actually, all of the flankers were pretty good. I think the cologne is the best one, and I think it's the most interesting one as well. But it's definitely a remix of the original, and so were the others.
Fantastic example again of that. That was a place where, did it come out in 2016? I want to say 2016. I've got that in my head. It probably was earlier than that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Can anybody get up? Frag Place, not Fragrantica. Frag Place. Anyway, whenever it was, right? Whenever it was, let's say 2014. What did I say? 16, 14. Whenever the fuck it was. Right?
Yeah, you said 16.
Okay. So, whenever it was, I slated it because I was like, I really want Guerlain to have a popular, regular perfume, because to me it was like, oh, they're releasing this thing that's like just a normal perfume. It's not one for like perfume heads or people who like go to the Guerlain counter. It wasn't sort of old and stuff. They're going to do something like modern, but it's going to be popular and it's going to be really good. And I got it and I went, coumarin soup, right? Just not very good, heliotrope, kind of boring, just crap. But as a base, right, that is almost the Guerlain art. That's almost like what they're about, kind of thing. And then everything that riffed off it was just like that, but with top notes. With, the one you mentioned, the cologne had lovely, like this mad, like sharp grapefruit thing, which with the creamy tonka was actually a really good marriage. It was a fantastic marriage. And then it seemed like that was like a modular kind of perfume where that was almost like the base. It's almost like the Jicky, right? But not as kind of good, but like that sort of thing of like Jicky, but then things with extra bits on top of Jicky, giving them, a bit more. So that is a really good example, because I did really like some of the richer, where they went even more, they doubled down on the tonkiness of some of those, like really dark, like there's like a brown one and a kind of reddy coloured one. They were really good, and I wasn't expecting them to be, because I just thought they're going to make these really overly sweet, they're going to be horrible. They were actually really nice. So every other one, except for the original one that I slated, then when I returned back to the original one, I went, actually, it's not too bad. And it gave me a newfound appreciation for the whole line as a sort of concept that they came up with. So, yeah, really good example there, Ben. I hadn't thought about that one myself. So, yeah.
Well done, Ben.
Done.
James is dishing out all the compliments.
Come on, Dan.
Well done.
Blimey, I'll take that.
Yeah. Okay. So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about examples where the flanker is better. And,
I know what you're going to say.
I went.
Oh no! Sorry, go on. Sorry. No, you're not. You're not.
I'm interested to see what. So a good example of a better flanker for me is if I go all the way back to Balenciaga Ho Hang.
I didn't think you were going there.
Club. No, I was like, does he really think I'm going there? Yeah, Ho Hang Club, which was a flanker, is a much, much better perfume, I think, than Ho Hang, which was a slightly sort of boring and, I mean, it's pleasant.
If you're going to hang with hose, you might as well do it in a club. Do you know what I'm saying?
Hell yeah. Hells yeah. Hanging with the hose. Go on, where did you think I was going?
I honestly thought that you were going to say Dior Sauvage.
Oh, right. Yes, no. Well, it wasn't top of my list.
You're better than that. I was going to say it.
I'm so
because it's almost like it's sort of the kind of the Benjamin Button of what we're talking about, which was supposed to be disappointing flankers, but we've gone to good flankers. So we've started out with the kind of
Oh no! I've got a disappointing.
Oh well,
one
no,
for
we've
you.
got loads. We're going to get onto the disappointing ones in a minute. I'm glad we're doing the ones that go in a kind of good, direction. So I think that Sauvage, the EDT, was actually I quite liked it until it became this horrible, ubiquitous, annoying thing. And the fucking ambroxan started to annoy everybody, etc. But as a very simple stripping it back to what masculine perfumes are about, I actually thought it was okay, but it was just far too strong, far too screechy, just too much to wear. And even the EDP, which I bought, was too much. But I figured, no, I actually quite like this, and I do. There's something in that EDP that I'm like, yeah. Then they brought out the Parfum version, did they? Which was better again. And then they brought out that weird, whatever that other one's called, the Elixir, which again takes it in a different direction, but moves it even further away from that EDT original. Whether you like it or not, that was a bit more Marmite, that one, but is still a really good perfume. But you saw this kind of evolution away from the things, and almost like, did they listen to feedback? Did they know that it was screechy and annoying? Was it just the fact that they weren't?
Well, they definitely listened to feedback. I think what they were probably calculating is that their audience was getting older. And with each iteration, they were just going, well, yeah, hang on. Trevor over there is about to... Well, it's probably not Trevor. It was Trevor. No one's called Trevor anymore. I'm always picking on poor old Trev. Antoine over there. Fucking Antoine. But they've got this image of their target customer,
and he's got more money.
Who's been wearing
Crucially,
Sauvage
he's got
EDT,
more money, so he can pay on.
And he's exactly. He's no longer fucking bezzing around like after school in his Vauxhall fucking Nova Corsa or whatever, like with the
which is good because he
could
he could be in his Nova. With like a couple of sprays, like he only has to spray it once a week, really, because it's so fucking atomically strong.
Exactly.
He doesn't even have to just wear the same clothes again, and Bob's your uncle. But this is a bit more refined, It's
There was I'm sure I told you that like someone wore Sauvage EDT to my dad's funeral. That was fucking particularly offensive. I think anyone over the age of about 14 probably shouldn't be wearing Sauvage EDT. So I mean, obviously, me being the lazy sort that I am, I did crowdsource some suggestions on Facebook. So I've got a few others. I'll just hit you with some of the good ones and tell me what you think. And I have to say, I agree with this one. Interlude 53 is better than Interlude.
Oh, I don't agree with that.
Oh, fuck you. Fuck you.
How can you
not agree with that?
Because the original one is punchier. It's
too punchy.
I can see why.
Punched to death.
So the thing is, I can see why that, and I think that would be a popular choice, right? But it's a bit like saying, what was it, like went to the beach, like beach too sandy, water too wet, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you want to wear Amouage, wear fucking Amouage. Don't wear Amouage and then bitch about it being too big. Like, that's the point.
Did you just say went to the beach, beach too sandy, water too wet?
Said as if we should know that expression.
Is this some sort of Brighton expression?
No, it's like the bad review, like where you state you're basically given something that's clearly obvious. You know what you're getting, and then you complain about it for being too much like that, right? So like it's like I really want to wear Interlude, but I really want to tone it down. Well, don't wear Interlude then, because that's not the perfume for you. Wear something else. Yeah, so I felt like...
yeah, maybe. I think 53 is better, because I love the Interlude scent, but it is too fucking...
See, what you need is 2 sprays to your wrist and you'll be fine.
I bet you don't even 2 spray that one, do you? It's probably a 1 spray.
Too much for me.
I have an original bottle of Interlude from when it first
made in Oman.
When it first came out. with like the it's not magnetized cap or anything.
Friction cap.
Just the regular cap, and it's a tiny like 50ml as well, and I really used it. But it felt like I wore it all the time when it first came out. And I look at it and there's like about half a mil gone out of the top of it. And I'm like, how, like, that's just insane. So, yeah.
It's expanding.
I'd have to say, because of more experience of that one, yes, I do you know what? I can vividly recall you sending us the other one. And I'd already tried it as well. I think I bought a sample when it came out, and yeah, it's got certainly more of the herbal aspect to it rather than the sort of the kind of bitey sort of incense. So I, to be honest, I think I prefer the original. I've got to say, sorry, Dan, but
well, fuck
I get
you.
why you're saying that, but like Ben says, don't wear it if that's not what you want.
Yeah. Well, Ben says went to the beach.
Beach too wet.
Beach too sandy, water too
Beach
wet.
too sandy, water too wet. Yeah.
Is the beach sandy in Brighton?
Like
I thought it was all like pebbles and shit.
Nah,
It's all
stones.
pebbles, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pebbles
Beach
too
too pebbly. Okay, so some other suggestions. Dior Homme Parfum better than Dior Homme. I think there's a reasonable debate there, actually, because I think they're both class. Yeah.
Well, hang on, no, because that's not even a very good one. Because I'd say the main ones are original Dior Homme and Dior Homme Intense. The Parfum was a later addition to that, so it's kind of further out of the conversation.
I think the Parfum's way better than Intense.
Do you think?
Yeah, the Intense was too sweet for me. I think the Parfum was. I think the Parfum's the best of the three, personally. But clearly not a universally held.
Well, put it this
opinion.
way: I'm saying that I own Dior Homme and the Parfum. I don't own Dior Homme Intense, so I'm just kind of saying that to fuck with you a bit. But yeah,
naturally. Well, that would be out of character for you, James. So this is one that I cannot pass comment on, but perhaps you can, James. Equipage Geranium.
Ooh.
Is that better than the original?
No. It's good though, but I don't think it's better than the original.
Do you know what?
That's troubled you, that one, hasn't it?
The problem is that I was supposed to buy it, but I didn't. The Equipage Geranium. I don't know why. Oh, have I got it? I might have it. No. I've got
typical
I've got
perfume
Bellamy Vetiver,
hoarder,
I think. Which is
that better than the original Bellamy?
No, they're both good. They're ones that you can't. They are an example of a really well thought out flanker, not just spaffing them out to fucking for the sake of it, right? These are really well thought out to the point where it's worthwhile owning both, right? And that is the case. So I can't fault those Hermes flankers because they're very, very good. And they weren't going to go, let's do a fucking, Bellamy this, that. It feels like there's a full stop after that. Like, no, we did those because after years of them existing, we felt like, okay, we may put a little flanker out there, but you're not getting any more for another 20 years. Do you know what I mean? If at all. That's how I feel with Hermes. So they are, if you prefer one over the other, that's fine by me. But I can't really separate them. I think they're both worth having. The Bellamy Vetiver, the Geranium one. Is there some other ones? Is there? I want to say there's another one. Don't know. Anyway,
there may be.
It's like the original.
Check it out on Frag Place.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've got an old Bellamy. Hang on, let me have a look. What I've got. You just carry on.
So I think the problem with those ones and saying like one's better than the other is like they're both excellent, but or for me at least, I came to the flankers much later, so I already had sort of developed a really strong kind of like, I guess, bias for the original. And so the second one, I have to almost think of it as not a flanker, as a completely separate perfume, because otherwise I compare it too heavily to the original, which is like a massive love. But Bellamy Vetiver is great, but I don't think it's better than Bellamy. But that's not to say it's a bad perfume at all, but I just don't I struggle to think of them in the same breath in a way.
Well,
like it's...
Well, I think that's a good point, actually. I think you can get quite, like, just emotionally welded to the original because you've lived with it for more time. And so a flanker always has a sort of a bit of a hill to climb. Yeah. Because it's got to wrestle with that inertia. Right, what have you got there, James?
Original. Hang on.
Into the microphone.
My equipage has got like a little horsey man on the inside of the label. Have you ever noticed that? I don't think I've
a little horsey man.
You see him?
Hello, horsey man. Oh yeah, it's like it's almost like there's something to do with horses.
So that's the equipage, but that's the original, like 90s equipage, 80s equipage. I don't know, one of those. They're both great. They're both as good as each other, to be honest. Really, both just fantastic, and it's aged really well. Hasn't really lost a lot of the top and everything. It's really good. And then I have Bellamy. Don't have an original Bellamy, but I've got that one. And I have a Bellamy Vetiver as well, and they're both fantastic, and they're both worth owning, or I wouldn't have them both. Simple as that.
Okay.
Also, Rockabar, got that as well.
Was there a Rockabar?
I think so. I think that does have one. I'm sure it does, or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
So
definitely. I might be wrong, but yeah, definitely, yeah.
You were saying just then about the having a mountain to climb and stuff, and the tricky thing I think for perfume house is like the bigger an original perfume gets, the more likely they are to put out a flanker, because then they're going to cash in on the name. But the bigger an original one gets, the more likely the flanker is to fail in many respects, because like you say, like it's just people, and I think a good example of that, sticking with Hermes, is the orange Hermes that it's going to piss me the fuck off. Terre d'Hermes, yeah.
You know, and you're going to say Eau Givray.
Yeah, and like when that came out, I hated it. Like I bought it like day one, and I hated it. I think I sold it to you actually, Dan.
Probably. Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah, and but now I think actually it's quite nice. I haven't smelled it for a long time, but in my memory, I think I was.
It's got better. It's got better in your memory.
I think I wonder if I gave it a bit of an unfair shrift, if you know what I mean.
You did not. You did not give it no, I don't think so. Because that was fairly high up on my list of ones where the flanker was just not as fucking good.
Okay. So I wondered then, because it just sort of came to me then that actually maybe that's what what you're saying about and that point of a flanker having is more likely to fail the bigger the original gets, and I wondered if it was sort of that, like I smelt it and just went nah, and because of my own biases or whatever, or my own expectations, maybe. But yeah, no,
it's
apparently
possible.
It's shit.
Well, it's possible, but I don't think that was a great fragrance, and I think I forget her name now, who was at Hermes for some time, but I think a lot of what she did was all that sort of very minerally kind of cold.
Nargel.
Nargel, yeah, Christina Nargel. Yeah. I that was no real exception for me. I didn't enjoy it. I did want to check one though. I know you're both big fans of the original, so I was wondering what you think of Mancera Red Tobacco Intense and how it compares to the original Mancera Red Tobacco.
I don't know. I didn't even know there was a flanker of it. Yeah, no.
Really? Oh wow. I'm surprised. Yeah, I don't know. Awful. They're just awful. Both awful. Terrible. That's a unique category where the flanker and the original are both absolute dog shit.
Chanel Allure Blanche. That's nice.
I had that. Interestingly, I had that in my flanker is equivalent to the original. So I had 3 categories. So the way I did it was I did a post on Facebook saying, right, here's my flanker is better than the original. That was the Balenciaga Hohang Club. Flanker is equivalent to the original, and I had Chanel Homme Edition Blanche. And flanker is worse than the original, Terre d'Hermès Eau Givrée. Those were my sort of 3.
Eau Givrée. There was a good, the Eau Fraiche. That was a...
the Eau Fraiche one was nice.
And that came
I
kind
agree.
of before. So.
I still, it's not better.
No.
It was not. And I think, and that's probably, it was at least not a disappointment.
No,
though.
and when you make a novel formula and you kind of almost like change the whole game of perfumery, if you want to call it that, I desperately didn't, but I just reached for that terminology. But I think Terre d'Hermès is such a kind of elegant like formula in like that it was there in front of people, but it took time for Jean-Claude Helena to actually, put it out there and be like a thing. And it's one of those where I think other perfumers probably think, oh yeah, of course. Do you know what I mean? Or they look at it and they go, oh yeah, and it was extremely popular and still is really. But yeah, so that was a bit of a hard act to follow, I think. I got a good one of disappointing flankers. Spice Bomb.
Go on. Spice Bomb. What was the flanker? Extreme.
Right.
Extreme.
Hold on. Those ones are okay.
Wasn't there a green one?
This is it, right? So I'm talking about so there was immediate flankers, right? To the point.
Night Vision, something like that, right?
We'll get onto them fuckers in a minute, right? So this is how some of them go, where they'll release a perfume and then off the back of it they'll go, quick, right? We need some flankers to stay relevant. We need to push it and get the thing. Not just let's ride the wave of the perfume. Let's let it live its life out. Maybe like an Hermès would do with Terre d'Hermès. They don't release any flankers for a while because they're always doing special edition versions anyway, so they don't even need to change the perfume, just have a new edition for that thing with a H on the bottle, or they've got lots of different things they can do. But this was, yes, let's try and make some flankers a couple of years after or whatever they did, and they did the extreme one, which is all right, but it's not, again, it's so similar to the original for me that it was just kind of like, all right, okay, you sort of just, again, that may be a bit of a cash in. I don't really see much difference. Just get the original was my thinking. Then they did a couple of other ones, maybe like a sort of in a kind of more opaque, like silvery kind of looking one, maybe. Anyway, whatever they did a couple of flankers that were okay because they smell like Spice Bomb. Then a few more years had gone by, and it was like, oh, why are we seeing a fucking Spice Bomb? Oh, yeah, because it's shaped like a hand grenade and it's got a cool bottle. They just decided, let's put these shitty myself fucking, whatever slop they'd come up with. Let's call it Night Vision, because it's crudely to do with, army shit, which, is the whole Spice Bomb thing. And let's release that. And it was terrible because it bears no relation to the original. Not that that's, a prerequisite for it being good. I just mean, because as we know, you can change it and it still be relevant or whatever, but that was not. And then they brought out another one called Infrared, I think, after that, which was even more just like, what are you doing? It's like, what's another point? I mean, okay, here's the thing, that it's hard for a flanker to be more terrible than Versace Eros, right? because that is a hateful fucking perfume, right? I don't know if do you remember when I did a post where I smashed a bottle with a hammer? Did you ever see that? I got it in like slow motion of me like smashing a bottle of Eros with a hammer, which is somewhere.
That does sound like the kind of thing you.
It's somewhere in the mists of my social media somewhere. So, and anyway, so that was that. But that is a bad perfume. That's a terrible perfume. But has it got some fucking hideous flankers? There was that Flames one, like something inflamed or something.
Is that the red one?
Yeah. Now there's a yellow one, which I'm just like, nah.
Well, the yellow one
is all right. Is it?
Quite nice. Yeah,
well, I'm a dick then.
Well, it's basically. Well, it smells nice. It's basically a clone of Aventus Cologne.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think it's got any real relation to the original Eros. It's nice. I mean, it's quite pleasant.
Well, I haven't tried it, so that's a bad example of me saying it. But I saw fucking Channing Tatum, whatever it's called, Channing Tatum. Channing Tatum, fucking Tatum. Magic Mike on the advert, and
nice.
I was like, nah, you know what I mean? Just it's yellow as well. I mean, it's
the colour of piss.
But okay,
it's actually quite pleasant.
But do we all hate Eros though?
But the others are dog shit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you hate the original, Ben?
Yes.
Oh yeah. It's just
you can't be in our gang if you don't.
Terrible. There's just too much going on in it, and then there's mint, and you're like, nah, not for me.
Did you ever try the Polo flanker, Polo Crest?
Polo have got some bad flankers.
No, agreed. Polo have got some terrible flankers. But the original, like if you go, so Polo Crest, I think came out in like the 90s.
Is it a blue one with two stripes? It was
back when. No. It's in the same sort of. I've got a bottle of it somewhere. It's basically, I forget. There's probably a name for this kind of thing where they take the same. Basically the same combination of notes, but they change the dominance, the mix or whatever. So they dial some things up and some things down, and the result with Polo Crest is that it's a fresher, less sort of headbanger riff on the original Polo. Because I mean, like the original Polo. I've got like a 1981 or whatever it is bottle of it. That shit is insanely strong. I mean, that's 2 sprays and that will fill a fucking room up. It's mental. And it's not surprising that they needed a slightly more polite version of it. And Polo Crest is a slightly more polite version. I don't think commercially it was a big success or anything. But I think it's a really nice one. So when you're like in the mood for Polo, but you don't want to fucking smell like Burt Reynolds, choking everyone out. It's a great one. And Polo Sport, I also loved, even though the relationship between Polo and Polo Sport is non-existent.
Well, it's slightly different.
Really.
It's sort of how you imagine the clothing lines, because the Polo Sport was very different. It was less of a preppy look to the Polo, which is still going strong to this day, whereas the Polo Sport has gone by the wayside, hasn't it? You don't see Polo Sport particularly. You still do, but not as much as you did.
I think they rebranded it as RLX, didn't they, or something? It's more like golf wear these days.
Because everyone had those Polo Sport jackets, I remember, like, at a time.
Yeah. Well, but those were so Polo Sport and Polo Crest were sort of flankers, I guess, reasonably contemporaneously. Is that the right word? They were done about the same sort of time. But then there's been a load of like re-releases of it recently, like Polo fucking. I don't know. Is there Intense?
They had like an oud collection, didn't they? Like Polo oud and stuff.
Yeah,
those were slightly different. I don't think they were meant to be related to the original Polo, but they were all pretty nasty. Was my experience of.
They did ones
those.
that were just numbers in
fact,
different coloured bottles that were horrendous. I mean, they were cheap, nasty fucking bullshit.
Almost every Ralph Lauren fragrance since, like, the original Polo Crest and Polo Sport has been dog shit. I can't think of a single one that stands out. Chaps, maybe? But that was old
there's that purple one that was always said to be the original Bleecker Street.
Yeah, now you're right. That is quite nice. It's quite pleasant. I've had that a couple of times, but it's you use this expression a lot. It's annoying, right? And that is a genuinely annoying fragrance. You wear it and you think, oh, it smells quite nice, and then like about an hour later, you're like, yeah, no, I don't want to smell this anymore. This is annoying. It's not super strong. It doesn't outstay its welcome or anything. It's just very linear, very annoying. I can't think of a better word. But yeah, on the whole, I would say Polo have produced nothing of any value in many years. And that's my official opinion on the matter.
Do you think there's like one house that does flankers well, like consistent? Because I think you have to look at like, I don't know if it's, see, I think we've already touched on it with Hermes, but even them, but Guerlain, but they put out a lot of twaddle, don't they? They put out a lot of flankers. I mean, Shalimar alone has probably got about 50 flankers.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
but they do love a flanker, don't they? Like almost all of their perfumes have probably got flankers, like.
Well, the whole Gaultier
Le
Male, it's basically it's just an army of flankers. I mean, people go, oh no, this one's different to this. I don't have a fucking clue, mate. They just all. I don't think I've tried half of them. I did this thing with Chris Fragmental where we were going through these different cheapo sort of clones of things, and he was like, "Oh, this one's a clone of Le Male Parfum." I was like, "I don't fucking know which one that is." They're all just torsos, like bottles with torsos, and you know the original one I've still got a bottle of, and the rest of them, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not interested in them. I always walk straight past them in any store.
See, that's the interesting thing as well. Like most of the time, you expect a flanker to be of the perfume, like we were saying earlier, like a remix of the perfume because the perfume's good and they remix it in a different way. But I think sometimes they make flankers based on like the bottle. You know, like the Spice Bomb. Almost guarantee that's not because of the perfume. They're just remixing the bottle because they know the bottle's popular. And I think it's probably the same with Le Male, which is like an iconic bottle. So just reuse it and people will buy it. Like, you know, it's they're not remixing the perfume so much as they're remixing the bottle.
Do you know what? That segues perfectly into what I'm about to say. I've pulled out a load of flankers. Mm-hmm. I'm actually quite well armed for that. I'm feeling good about this section, right? So what Ben just said there, right? Can we think of flankers that took off and were a lot more successful than the original? I can. This one, right? So this is the original. It's the purple Versace Man, right? And this bottle, now the other one, the Eau Fraiche, I think it's called Eau Fraiche. Yeah, the light blue one was massively popular, and no one really even knows about this one. This is a kind of weird, what is it? Kind of licoricey. Yeah, kind of licorice sort of weird thing. It's very nice, you know what I mean? But this bottle took off, and everyone knows the Eau Fraiche one. That was a massive seller, Versace Man Eau Fraiche. But people rarely kind of know about the original. There are other examples of that. Just don't know any. Do you know any? I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there are definitely some where the flanker kind of took over and was like, all right, yeah, let's just go down the route of this thing that sells. And it must have just been at that time, that freshy kind of thing was just, there was a few blue fragrances that it kind of tied in and just made sense and became more popular than the original. The original's a bit weird.
Bulgari, Aqua Amara, like that flanker got really popular. The orange one, orange and sea salt flanker, and it got like really hyped, and it was discontinued and selling for like hundreds of pounds and stuff. And the original was not really talked about ever. And I think there was another flanker as well. I think there was 3 in total, but it was Amara, the flanker, that got really hyped.
How's this for another hyped flanker?
Amen.
This is Ultra Zest.
Zest.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good. It deserves the hype, to be honest. It's kind of creamy, orange sort of, kind of fragrance. But
Popsicle.
Yeah, that is what it is. It's really nice. And worth a few quid, so I might flog that one.
And again, they were selling because of the bottles. Like, they had the kind of positive formula going with the bottles. So they just kept changing the colours to be these funky colours, like the Crypto Mint one and stuff like that. And I swear, like the popularity is because the bottles were cool.
That Crypto Mint is nauseating.
Yeah.
By the way. Absolutely fucking nauseating.
I've never tried it because I couldn't find it anywhere. I did try, but, I think Mugler have sort of gone by the wayside. We mentioned this the other day, and I thought to myself, oh, isn't that interesting? Now, you like an Izzy Miyake, don't you, Ben?
That's Le Blur or whatever it is. Low Blur or something.
I don't even know. It's called... Oh, it doesn't even say on the bottom. I have no fucking idea, but it's a kind of incense hinoki.
It's Low Blur. Yeah, it's Low Blur. Izzy Miyake Low Blur.
Incense kind of hinoki wood. I never liked it. When it came out, I was like, that's rank. And it became like a big thing, didn't it? Loads of people loved it and was like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Because Izzy Miyake with the Low Dizzy line just basically brought out the same one, but a special edition every. So they had millions of flankers, but they weren't the different fragrance really, apart from reformulations. They was an occasional fresh, like summer one with like a little kiwi note, or like they'd change something like a watermelon or yuzu. Yeah, that was always
Low Dizzy yuzu.
The kind of Japanese sort of thing. But then this was a real difference, right? And I always hated it. And then it became really cheap. And I went, oh, fuck it, I'll just get it and then I'll try and grow to like it. Because I knew it was weird. And I was always like, so weird. It's got this kind of herbal, hinoki wood, like really strange fragrance. And I eventually did kind of grow to like it. But I'm glad I've got it, you know what I mean? But that's another example of sort of a flanker that really kind of took off. So here's, speaking of spraying it on your forehead, what about this for a flanker? This is called Eau de Toilette Tonique Energizing Eau de Toilette. It's a bit of a mouthful.
Kouros
doesn't really bear that much resemblance to the original, but there's something about it that's got like this really like gruff, like masculine, even though it's in like a fresh, energizing, almost aqua kind of way. It's still really good. So it's the Kouros, and they released a few of these. Like they used to do one of these every year, just a weird and in the same like Kouros kind of bottle, but again not the kind of animalic kind of style. This is an old school one. Daniel, like this. Have you seen this in a plastic bottle?
Santos de Cartier.
So this is Santos
nice.
de Cartier Eau de Sport, and this Eau de Sport. So
is it basically just Santos with like some fucking like nice fresh fruity notes on top?
No, because they didn't even bother doing that with these. They just called it Eau de Sport and put it in a thing and went, oh, you can put it in your gym bag because it's a plastic bottle. Okay, that's a bit of a gimmick. And it doesn't smell as good as Santos, to be honest. It's okay. It's got like the spiciness of the Santos, and it smells broadly masculine. I mean, this is probably a 90s, maybe, 80s, 90s, I don't know. But anyway, it's very good, but it doesn't have, for me, the characteristic. Santos has a weird kind of creamy coconut sort of note to me, like a toasted coconut kind of vibe to it. This doesn't have that. But other than that, yeah, it's a very good, serviceable men's sport fragrance. Now, just one more, sorry to rattle off loads at once, but I kind of found, here's an example of probably the best huge departure from the originals, because the originals, so Gucci had Tom Ford there, did they, at the time? I think we were talking about this with the Pour Homme 1 and Pour Homme 2 and all those kind of things, and then they completely went into the fucking wilderness. Talk about wasteland, right? They released some absolute shite between like sort of the end of the 2000s to the 10s. Do you know what I mean? They were just like, what are you doing? They had like one called like Dress Up or something. I can't even remember what they were called, but they changed the bottles as well. So they had these they had Guilty as well, which they made a complete fucking, I mean, the Guilties, they're kind of okay. There was some Xenia ones that came out later, which were just basically Guilty, and I have them and I kind of enjoy them, but I expected more from Gucci. I wasn't too bothered about the Zegna ones because you could get them for cheap and they were just kind of throwaway things. And it's not that Guilty was really bad, it was just that Guilty was pretty bad, and then it had flankers after it that were shit as well. But then this came along after years, so this is Gucci Guilty Absolute.
Oh, absolutely.
And it smells like fucking petrol and like, diesel fumes and fucking, like fly repellent and leather and just like dirty.
It's by far the best one from that line. It's
insanely good, right? It's amazing. Yeah. This fragrance, so smoky and like just. When I smelled it, I could not believe it, and I couldn't believe it was by what's his name as well. What the fuck is his name? Very prolific perfumer, made Jeremy Fragrance's perfumes, made like everything in the 90s pretty much. Alberto Morillas. Wow, I couldn't remember his name then. He made that. Like I say, he's done some good perfumes as well as, a lot of Drek. But that is one that like
Drek
completely fucking, that makes the whole line okay. I don't care about those ones that were in the kind of mists of time. That thing came out and was like, wow, Gucci took a risk and brought out an amazing perfume there. That is, I mean, it takes some bottle to wear it. It really does. But, it's great.
So that's like you're saying about the risk there, right? That's an interesting point that sort of ties into what I was thinking. Is that why do you think that you don't often see? And I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because there are obviously some, like Roger's a good example, but like you don't often see niche perfumes making flankers. It tends to be designer houses. But to me, it feels like, I'm only going off what like vibes. So what do I know? But I feel like a flanker is a safer release than a new perfume entirely, because if you've got a hit or a perfume that people enjoyed, releasing a flanker feels like it's an easier release because you've already got a backing for it, rather than you've already got a fan base.
You're saying that.
Yeah.
So, but you don't see it often with
No, but you've identified there people who did look at that and go, okay, that's been the designer model for fucking years. Why don't we do that as well? So you had Roger making things like, I know it wasn't a flanker, but like Apex and shit like that. Do you know what I mean? Which was just totally off the wall.
Well, he did make those like cologne lines, didn't it?
Exactly, which were flankers essentially.
Yeah.
And then you have obviously what Amouage are doing at the moment, which is just basically making those different concentrations. And then you had the whole, I mean, they really looked at the kind of arms race between like Chanel and Dior, which I always talk about, which is where, they bring out an EDP and then they bring out an EDP and then they bring out a parfum and then they do that and then an elixir and they do it. that's just like par for the course now. That's what they do. And then the niche sort of arena has looked at that and gone, well, we're kind of moving, towards that, where we're all kind of moving towards the middle, if you like. Yes, there's extreme examples on either end of like super cheapy, definitely only going to be in boots, to really high-end, ridiculous kind of luxury. But then everything else in the middle has sort of homogenized a little bit and kind of moved into like similar space. Or they all look at it and go, this is where the main people are and the main money is, basically. So let's kind of try and emulate what again, it's the same company, so what we've always done in that space, but just do it in a bit more of a high-end arena. So I think we're seeing it a lot more because it's a formula that works largely. There's hits and misses, but
yeah. I think this new formula, or this not new, but I suppose slightly more modern idea of, like, with Amouage with their higher concentrations and Sauvage making like the perfume and then the elixir and all that. I think that's kind of interesting because it's like flankers and not necessarily above. They're sort of a sideways move. It's like you have like your perfume and they released a flanker which is sort of in line with the original perfume, but now we've almost got this hierarchical progression where they released the original, like the EDT, then they released the EDP, and then they released and you remember when I was saying I was in the shop and I heard the sales assistant saying basically, this one lasts 6 hours, this one lasts 10 hours, this one lasts 12 hours, and they're progressively more expensive as well. So it's almost like especially in the designer space now, like rather than flankers, it's just, here's another one, and it's the same as the last one, but it's more expensive. Yeah. Like rather than being adjacent, sort of, it's a like vertical hierarchy. They're
going vertical rather than horizontal.
Yeah. Like the flankers used to be horizontal.
Well,
and now
that's again another really interesting thing, because we talk about risk, right? So if you have a really successful original perfume and you release an adjacent flanker, that is less risk on you, because even if it flops and doesn't do very well, it doesn't really affect the popularity of the original. Whereas if you do this hierarchical thing where you're saying, we're going above that and we're trying to like make it more concentrated or, more refined, or we're trying to do this, that sort of runs the risk of kind of slightly jading the underling one. Do you know what I mean? Like the original one, at risk of it doing that. But also you could say, well,
like devaluing the original almost, because it's like, it's the cheap version, like it's the one for the plebs. Like I've got the elixir
precisely. So I think there's some risk involved in that, in that they have, so I think it's only the really, really established brands that can really afford to do that, maybe. The likes of your Dior's and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make a good point about the risk attached to releasing a flanker. On the whole, I think, it's a low risk approach, right? Because what's the worst thing that can happen? It's not a great success, and we quietly withdraw it. A year after we've launched it, it doesn't really damage anything. It's unlikely also to sort of particularly cannibalize your revenues from your existing one. You're more likely to sort of get someone buying both. I've had that one, now I'm going to try this next one. So I do think it's a low risk approach. It is reasonably sort of cynical. I think a lot of the designer stuff is just, where it used to be, here's our perfume 1 and then here's our perfume 2, which is sort of like, we're taking it in a different direction. Now it's just, here's perfume 1, 3 months later, here's variation A, 3 months later, here's variation B. This one's got a fucking, picture of a cock on the bottle. Here's variation C. It's.
He's talking about Nasa Martin.
I don't know. I
specifically. Yeah.
Yes, I am. Yeah. I think flankers, certainly in the designer world, are less well demarked, than they used to be.
Let me ask you a question. As somebody who has a brand, and again, we don't talk much, but so imagine Soma, and I know you're in a kind of different position because you're sort of a niche brand or whatever. But what's your most? Is it the Halcyon one that's very popular? Is that your bestseller?
Yeah. Interestingly, Interestingly, we did that has a flanker.
Right. I didn't know that, but I thought if you were going to do a flanker of one, that was one that was really popular. Why not? It makes sense.
Exactly. We actually did what Les Indémodables did, but we did it before them. So we took the original Halcyon and then we just added a Cambodian oud to it. That's the only difference. You could achieve the same effect by layering a oud oil and wearing Halcyon, but we put it inside the perfume, and that's actually been really popular. But those perfumes are related. I don't think that's quite as cynical as what we're seeing. And I'm staring at this fucking thing, which is still on my desk, which is Jimmy Choo Man Extreme, right? And I know I mentioned this last week or last time we recorded. It's not an awful perfume, but it's just a smell, and I assume it's a smell that's not wildly dissimilar to Jimmy Choo Man regular, and it's, I don't know, but this one's in a red bottle and lasts for 6 hours. I long for better flankers. Well, I wrote down flankers that I thought were more interesting than today's toss. But
no, I was just going to say what you did there with your flanker was you gave something quantifiable that they can go, okay, it's exactly the same thing that I've had before, and you're just basically just admitting we're gonna stick Cambodian oud in it, right? That's all we do. So that's a very kind of honest approach, and also it has implications in that Cambodian oud is expensive. I know that, you know that, and it's kind of very much transparent to the end user. Look, if you like that fragrance and you like oud, you're going to get one with some oud in. That is a much, I can accept that as a thing to be like, okay.
Thank you. You're being very magnanimous today.
I just I can, like, if that like floats your boat. But I didn't like Halcyon, and and you put some fucking oud with it. Nice one, mate. Well, do you know what I mean? I won't be touching that shit. But,
you're not going to like it with you're not going to like it with oud in then. If you didn't like it, because
it's going to cost more as well, isn't it?
Right,
it costs a lot more.
It is. Unfortunately, it's about 50 quid more. But there you go. So I want to talk about just a couple of more interesting flankers, and two flankers that I love. Well, the original and the flanker that I love is Givenchy Xerius and Xerius Rouge.
Ooh.
I think they're both fucking brilliant.
You're really pulling out ones for the ads today, aren't you? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I was looking through my collection, and the majority of, I don't actually have many flankers. I guess because I don't have that much designer stuff, and most of the designer stuff I have is older, sort of more vintagey things. So like the Xerius and Xerius Rouge is just nice. I love Xerius Rouge. It's such a, it's on the one hand it's a really trite sort of perfume, but it's just so much fun. It's one of those perfumes that just genuinely brings a smile to my face.
That's another one that was more popular than the original, I would suggest. Yeah, I would say it was more well known, certainly.
I could believe that. Definitely. This was not my suggestion. This was harvested again from my Facebook post, but the same person who suggested Equipage Geranium as being an improvement said that a flanker that was worse than the original was Givenchy Incense Ultramarine.
Oh, yeah. Do you know what? I have tried that, and I do remember it. I'm just trying to think about the original. I remember that flanker.
Well, I don't remember the original. So I was like, Is that a flanker? Yeah, it is actually. There was a Givenchy incense.
Oh,
I don't remember ever trying it.
I have tried
All
it.
I ever remember seeing is the blue bottle.
The original is weird.
Right. Was it good?
No, because it's very weird.
Well, I mean, the incense ultramarine was super fucking weird. I mean, I don't understand it's incense, but it's underwater. Huh? What? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I hadn't even thought of it as a flanker. I think commercially it was probably more successful on the basis that I see the blue bottle everywhere. I don't remember ever seeing the original.
Because it's not not incense. That's not. It's.
Is that not how you pronounce it?
It's similar, but it's not. It doesn't mean incense. Incense, yeah.
Does it not?
I don't think so.
It doesn't mean incense.
Let me. I might be completely off on that, but.
What?
Because does it smell of incense? No. I don't think the original does particularly, but maybe I'm wrong.
I'm now frantically searching Fragrantica to find your inevitable review.
Oh, yes, there probably exists somewhere. I've probably forgotten what I said about it.
Incense. Incense Ultramarine. Blackcurrant. No, there's no incense, so you must be right. Blackcurrant, watermelon, bergamot, galbanum, iris magnolia, mint, carnation, lily of the valley, cardamom, sage, tobacco, vetiver, cedar. I remember thinking that was a fucking weird perfume.
Yeah, because it's called incense, isn't it? So incense is with a C, isn't it? So it's incense. Again.
Incense. Well, every day
it's got a little beret on the E. Remember we talked about that last week? Last lesson.
Yeah, fucking hats and that. Yeah. Boss and Boss Sport. Do you remember the green bottle with the tennis rackets on? Hugo. So Hugo, the original Hugo Boss. Boss One.
Yeah, I don't think I've tried it.
Yeah, for my money, it's basically just a very, very similar perfume with some sort of fleeting, fresh notes at the top. Quite jarring, very unusual, a wholly unnecessary flanker, in my view. I don't know how commercially successful it was, but it had the most absolutely gorgeous green bottle, which I very much enjoyed. And you mentioned this one before. But we didn't actually talk about it, although I guess we've talked about them a lot before. But the Gucci Pour Homme 1 and 2, they don't... I mean, they're not related in any way, as far as I can tell.
No, not really, apart from the bottle looked a bit the same.
No. Well, same bottle. I mean, different colour, but not related. Both very nice perfumes. I think 2 is... one is the one that seems to get all the sort of
it gets a lot more
I guess the hype, hype's the wrong word, but it gets all the fucking plaudits. But I love 2. I think it's again, it's one of those sort of happy fragrances. It's got this lovely tea sort of thing going on.
Well, JJ,
tea fragrance, really good. Probably better than the original, and probably better known than the original. Bulgari Pour Homme Soir.
Oh yeah,
Pour Homme Soir.
That's a good one.
And I reckon probably the Soir version probably overtook the original.
I would say so. Yes, I think you're right there. I'm just looking at JJ Colborne. His just the first bit of his feelings about incense. He said, for all its hype and feelings by some that it's been overblown, incense, in my humble opinion, is worth all of its praise. I'm not going to read the rest.
Okay. Well,
but that was an opening kind of thing that he said. I have reviewed it. Aldehydic transparent leather fragrance feels dated in an oh so brilliant way. Like I want to date it, wear it on a date. Oh God, what was wrong with me at this point? It's soapy.
Rather hefty dose of
Snappy
acid.
opening, weirdly floral but fresh, masculine. Oh, so I quite liked it. Sort of green leather. I'm describing it as a sort of fougere-ish, but with like a piney kind of fuely, sort of twangy. I'm always going on about saffron leather and weird things. It's no chorus or anything, but it's satisfying. That was my so okay, all right. Maybe I thought it was all right. So that was the original Incense. But yeah, if you look, also, I don't know if this is just due to availability because they usually discontinue. Well, sometimes they'll discontinue the original one. So I think that's what happened when we're talking about Xeris Rouge and the original Xeris. I think they discontinued Xeris a long time while they still had Rouge on the shelf, which I'm assuming is because it's sold. It might just be that that's how the order of things of how they discontinue stuff. I don't know, but it always seemed to be around, and it's the same. It would appear with the Incense Ultramarine because bottles of that seem to be readily available for about 30 quid, whereas the original Incense, you're looking at, you're going to have to seek that out on eBay, and you're going to be paying a couple hundred. I would have thought.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to bother. Okay. Toy Boy and Toy Boy 2.
Toy Boy 2? What was Toy Boy 2? I think I've tried it and it's rubbish, isn't it?
I'm going to say yes.
I think I have tried it.
So Toy Boy... Oh, not Toy Boy 2. Sorry, it was just called Toy 2. And it was... It's the white
That's
bottle.
the most hateful shite. I remember that because...
I think Toy 2 Bubblegum probably beats it for being hateful
that was
shite.
bad as well.
Do I remember you saying you had the original toy?
Yeah, I got it out. I got it out the other week, didn't I?
Yeah, this is not
which
a
actually,
toy.
as far as the fragrance goes, it's not offensive. It smells a bit like we were talking about that Calvin Klein type thing. It's just a fruity musk, really not offensive at all. So I didn't really care what the fragrance smelled like because I wanted the teddy, to be honest. So it was just from a collector's point of view. But yes, the fragrance might as well not exist. It's not innovating anything. It was pretty crap, but it wasn't hateful. It wasn't like that is horrendous. Like there was the women's toy was terrible, and then the women's toy 2 is dog shit as well. No, it really is. I mean, I'm not, it's not just that I wouldn't wear it or it's not for me. It was just bad, it's like just in every way bad. Yeah. So I think the fact that when that shiny black sort of slightly S&M teddy bear came out, and I was disappointed because I was like, oh, they've put it in the same one, because when they did toy, they didn't do the women's toy was always in that plastic bottle that the toy boy was in. That was what came out. And I was like, that's, they never got a teddy. I don't think they did originally. Anyway, which I thought was like, okay, the men's one's got a teddy and that doesn't. But and it was always
Bastards.
shit. So then when they reverted to not having a proper teddy for the other one, I was like, this is going to be bad. And it was fantastic. I mean, okay, I went a bit overboard on it because I wear it now and I go, yeah, it's a really bright, modern rose, pink pepper rose fragrance. But I think for what it was doing, for the price point, for the whole thing, for the fact that it was a Machino and it was this, stupid concept, it was a really surprisingly good perfume. So yeah, I mean, better than the original, yes, I would say so.
Yeah, well, I liked it. I mean, I'm wondering, short of just listing lots of fucking flankers, what have we learnt here? I mean, have we learnt anything this week, or are we just fucking listing flankers? Ben, have you learnt anything?
No.
It sounds like you've lost some knowledge.
No. Yeah, this has been actually detrimental to my overall fucking brain capacity.
I do think it's interesting, listening to the perfumes we've been listing off. I do think it is interesting how the flankers seems to have shifted, like I mentioned, sort of hierarchical rather than adjacent. I think that's like vertical rather than horizontal, rather. I think that's quite interesting. I don't know. I suppose they still do release adjacent flankers and stuff, but it seems like the trend is moving more towards like it's the same but better and more expensive.
Well, I think that's certainly true. Like if you, the Roger flankers have typically been cologne variants, so it's a vertical down,
but almost
different. Making it more accessible. But if I could generalize, right, the sort of super premium brands are if Amouage are making these exceptional X-rays, Roger's done well. Actually, Roger did do some like X-straight or elixir type things. I think he called them absolutes or something a few years ago, and also did the cologne. So Roger has been sort of moving up and down on that vertical sort of axis as well, and we're seeing a bit of that with the Dior arms race with Sauvage, but most of the flankers in the designer sort of universe are still sort of, I would say, small incremental horizontal steps, and they're largely all the more tedious for that these days. I preferred it when they were something different, something substantially different, offering something new rather than just a fucking tweak around the edges.
But if it's honest, we kind of touched on that with what we were saying about the oud added to your perfume. I think you've got other ones like like I say, sort of modular thing where you've got perfumers like what's his face, the old Molecules guy. What the fuck is his name? Oh, my head's gone.
I know
the Ormond Jane guy. Exactly, Ormond Jane. He took that approach to Ormond Jane as well, which have some flankers essentially. I mean, that's what they are. Of things like Mon Tobacco and these little tweaks and
Intensivo,
and like adding the thing to it. Well, it did the Intensivo around the same time as the original, but there's other ones that you've got, Dan, that you, I think, sent. There was one that's got a bit of a citrusy kind of more top to it. A Mon Tobacco. Is it called got some Italian name or something?
Yeah, I can't remember it now. But yeah, it's like got a grapefruit top. That whole Mon Tobacco thing, they've done like about 10 different variations.
They're doing that with a lot of the other ones though as well, which kind of
Gazer Schoen, by the way.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Not name checked Gazer Schoen in quite a while.
We haven't.
Come to think of it, we should probably do a Gazer Schoen episode or something at some stage. It'd be very molecular.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, what have you learnt, James?
That
Or have you unlearned something?
Got quite a lot of flankers, is what I've learnt. And yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting conversation because I know people like to just, talk about this kind of stuff, but I don't know. I sort of don't really approach it thinking about them as flankers. Really, I've learned to kind of go, no, you've got to appreciate things for just as an absolute individual for whatever they are, because they can always surprise you, even if they come from a shitty line or whatever. They can always surprise you with something. Yeah, keep an open mind. But yeah, I mean, I've not really learned anything, to be honest. But
I think that is the funny thing, actually. Is it like you can definitely get shit from good lines, and you can definitely get good from shit lines. Like a flanker is not a. the success or failure of the original perfume doesn't necessarily mean a thing for what the flanker might do.
But there can be a perception.
No.
It might put people off, or it might discourage somebody from trying something because you're like, oh, I don't really like that. But like I was saying about that fucking Eros one, you know what I mean? I'd made some assumptions there. I just assumed, didn't like the look of it, but it can always surprise you. So yeah.
Yeah, indeedy. Good. Well, I mean, I've sort of had quite a lot of fun with this. I've not got terribly many flankers, but it was an excuse to pull out like a few things from the cupboard, like particularly Ho-Hang Club, which is just fucking a little bit of magic. And Eau Givray, I still don't think it's worth a revisit, Ben. Okay, good. Well, look, as always, it's been fun. As always, we've missed Fliss. We will be back in 2 weeks with who the fuck knows what we'll be talking about then. I'm sure we'll figure it out before then. But until next time, we've been Les Oderants, and bye.
Bye.